How do I
A
look? I can't see myself.
little
I'm
crazy.
looking at the camera.
Yeah, just a little bit off. You
Cool,
know,
man.
not totally on it, but a little bit off.
I'm getting off right now.
Uh, we're live, everybody. Welcome
Oh.
back to the
Ooh.
We Are
Ooh.
Aquarius.
Should have
Uh,
made that joke. Joke.
I can't say that you are a birthing person getting off, but you are definitely a squirting person. That you. Well, I don't know if you want to describe any of that. We're not talking about that tonight.
We're
I'm
not anymore?
well, we could, but I'm Frank. This is Brad, and we're here to pump.
You up.
There we go. I
I knew
can
that one.
don't steal that one
I
for
knew that
now.
reference. Is that copyrighted?
I'm Hans, and I'm
Really,
Franz.
Franz?
We're here to pump you up. I love that intro there. That
But
was
I
one of the best ones.
Arnold Schwarzenegger was doing that skit, but who was? Is it just Chris Kattan and Will Ferrell to do that? Who's
Was that Chris Kattan? Oh no, that was
um,
Will Ferrell.
probably Will. I feel like it was Will
That was
Ferrell,
Will
but
Ferrell and Chris Kattan. They were acting like,
was it them too?
yeah, it was those guys right there, and
I
they were
always liked Will Ferrell and Sherry O'Terry doing the cheerleader thing back in the day. That's what I
that
was like.
that took some talent. That was good.
Yeah.
I admit that was very good how they did that together.
Although even
Because
more
Will
than that, I
Ferrell,
just
because she tried to bring the energy, but then he tried to overdo her by bringing more energy. Just kind of like in the other guys when he's like, when he's like, I want us to do good cop, bad cop. Oh, I thought you meant us to do bad cop, bad cop. So when
worse
you
like
brought it,
bad
I
cop, worse
had to
cop.
bring it even more. He's just like,
He's like, no, who does that?
no. you know, uh,
Um, no,
but
even
yeah,
more than that, that I always liked Chris Kattan and Will Ferrell with shoot, I can't even think of it. Night of the Roxbury.
yes,
And Jim
the,
and Jim Carrey was in that one time too. He did a
hmm
an episode on Saturday Night Live when back when the Saturday Night Live was still funny,
hmm
not actually like super woke.
yeah. It's just the thing is, SNL was a bit politically biased in a lot of ways with a lot of things for a long time. That's not to say it wasn't, but lately going the whole woke thing has just kind of flipped the table on its head. It's like, okay, now it's just like overly overdone. When you cook a steak overdone, you can
Well,
taste it. It
it's
tastes
just
like
not
shit.
fun. It's just not funny. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the thing. Like,
it's
what's funny is funny, and what's not is not. I mean, you can create something politically funny.
mm-hmm,
It's not hard. You can make something funny about Biden or Trump back in the day. You can make something funny about any of them.
mm-hmm.
But, if it's not funny, it's not funny.
I mean, for the most part, like most things are like tuned in to make fun of the president no matter what, and that's the thing. I think that all died with uh, Norm Macdonald, because Norm Macdonald would hit both sides. He didn't care, you know, and they.
Norm Macdonald's looking down right now, being like, "Wow, thanks, buddy.
I
I
love
didn't know I
Norm
was that
Macdonald.
important."
I think Norm Macdonald did a great job. His dry sense of humor was just hard for a lot of people to handle.
I was indifferent to him because
Hey, Jaws,
that
N1,
that
how you doing?
that
You have
one
a
that one interview he did one time, the person really kind of narked on him, and they were like, you could be like so much better than all this. He's like, whatever.
mhm.
And she's like, you're so depressed, and he's like, I'm not depressed. And I was just thinking, like, it goes into what we've been saying and throughout life. Like, well, is that really the way you should live? I mean, should you try? Me right now, I live a very simple life, and that's why I'm
Mhm.
always happy. People wonder why I'm stress free. I don't have any stress. I've created a way to live comfortably
Mhm.
without stress. Perhaps it's going to backfire on me one day, and I'll have stress.
Yeah,
Hit
you
that
will
road
have
when it
stress.
comes
I
to
mean,
it.
it comes to everybody.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't have myself overworked. I have good conversations with people. I try to stay positive and stuff like that. I look at life pretty
Hmm.
simply. You know, I mean, I make a lot of my own food. I have my own hobbies and all. I have plenty of hobbies, and I never want to stop making hobbies. Eventually, I want to learn to make candles. You know, after that, I want to learn to make soap. After that, I want to learn to make cheese. After that, I want to learn to make wine. You know, I never want to stop learning to make things. Why would you want to? You know, I mean, don't you want to just? It's not about saving money
No,
necessarily.
I
It's
get it.
just
I'm just, I was just thinking when you were saying it, I was like, candles and cheese and then soap. I'm like, well, I don't know about soap,
because
but maybe, maybe that'd be
to
something you
me,
could learn.
I know. I think soap is just because I watched Fight Club in the last like 3 weeks. But
You
it's
can't
just
you
in
can't
general
talk
like
about Fight Club
some
though, man. You can't talk about Fight Club.
something
You
about
don't talk about Fight
like
Club.
just imagine like sitting at your own table that you've made the chair, you've made the table, having yourself like a glass of wine. Maybe you even blew the glass, you know? That would even be more amazing.
I
You
saw
know,
that happen. That
sitting
would actually be
sitting
a
down,
lot of fun to make. Making glass because
taking a nice,
you blow on it like a bubble, and you can form it that way
you know,
after it's been in
you've been
the
saving
kiln.
this wine in your own bottle. Maybe you've made maybe I'll take you're right, maybe I'll take glass clean, classes before I
Hmm.
even take wine classes because which is just basically me looking up on YouTube. It's not real classes. It's just Google things and YouTube things until I eventually
I was in
feel
Ireland.
comfortable to
I was
wing
in
it.
Ireland, and the Waterford glasses, the really valuable, expensive glasses. I went through the tour of that, and there were some amazing things that they made. They made a six shooter with the glass bullets in this little case. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And right next to it was like a pirate ship and stuff. It was, I mean, most of the time they make like vases and stuff, beautiful things so you can put flowers in or whatever. But when I saw the six shooter, I was like, I actually would like to get that, but it was a little expensive. You know.
Just saying in general, it'd be very cool, to sit down at the table. You've made the table, you've sanded it, weaved it, stained it,
Mm-hmm.
made it, whatever you have to do to make a table. I didn't take that class yet. And then, I mean, you're pouring your own wine that you've been saving for 10 years. You have a cheese maybe you've been saving for a couple years, 5 years. So, you've just baked some fresh bread,
Hmm.
all your own. Maybe, hell, maybe you've even produced your own wheat and milk, and the flour and all that. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Mm-hmm.
something about it's rewarding. It's rewarding to me.
One thing that made me
Drinking
not
milk from your own cow.
One thing
Mm,
that made me not want to drink wine is I found out most natural wines, at least in the past, is guys would go in a room and they would stomp on the grapes until they turned it into like, in like a stomping thing. You step on it with your feet and all the juices
yeah, when
squirt
I
out, and then you let that ferment for a while. But it just makes me wonder how much of the fermentation process is from the toe jam and the feet, and it goes into the wine. And do they clean their feet when they do this process? I don't know. If it's a natural wine, I've got to wonder. But then again, if they
that's the
put bags on their
sulfites.
feet, then I'd be like, oh, okay, it's okay. But if they go and just step
Contain
on it
sulfites.
with their toes,
Okay, so when I was in Spain,
I
I
was
actually
like,
got a couple. I got a good time period where I got to watch. I probably have pictures somewhere of it,
I suppose
but
because
they
it's
they were
alcohol, it's okay now. But even still, I'd
well, they
rather.
were picking the grape. They were picking a lot of the grapes. They had like every once in a while, like every 5 minutes, because we were in a little village that had a like a vineyard and all that. Like it's a lot, a lot of grapes.
Hmm.
It's not just a small little vineyard. It's a lot, a lot of different people own different parts of the land, but I guess they all harvest everything and people just get their shares for what size they own and whatnot.
Hmm.
Either way, um, tons and tons of trucks would just, it was like dump trucks. They would just keep dumping the grapes in which case you saw these
Hmm.
things would like turn and actually went underground. It wasn't all above ground. And they like it separates it out there. And we did like a little bit of a tour to kind of look, because they didn't mind because my brother-in-law owns a little part of the vineyard. So he has like right to go. We would only pay €1 for a bottle of wine. So it was
Wow,
good wine.
one
Yeah.
euro.
I mean, this was a couple of years ago, so maybe it's €2 now. But
Hmm.
yeah, because it's right there at the place. I mean, you just buy it. We bought so much wine. You buy so much wine. It's like all you would do is eat some meats and cheeses and drink wine in this
How
little
good was
village.
it?
It's so
How
nice.
how soon did you drink it all by the time you got
How good is the
home?
wine? Oh, I loved it. This is such
I'm
like a
saying like you got
mainstream.
home and like within a week it's all gone. You're like, oh, wish I would have
Um,
Wish I would have saved
I
it.
mean,
Wish I would have
I
like
definitely
spaced it out, you know? Or,
I definitely would be like, let's go and get some pasta so I can, have a bottle of wine. And then I'd be like, let's go get a steak so I can have a bottle of wine. Like I would definitely
you were
keep like
finding any
instigating
reason possible to get
foods
that
that would,
wine.
yeah. Yeah, they
What was
typically
it
don't
called? The
last
one
that
that you
long.
got? What vineyard was
So,
it? Or
well, I'd have to look exactly because they're not really like they sell the wine to other places who will like put their label on it and all that. You know what I mean? Maybe they'll
Mhm.
add or subtract whatever they like blends and stuff like that are typically what these people like to do. Oh, it's a Chardonnay and Merlot blend and so this that's not a good blend I don't think, but um in
Hmm.
general I'm just saying so like I don't even know if they really had names. I didn't really look, but because like the one yeah, I guess some of them probably had some names, but they were more like names of the
The
I don't
vineyard.
know. I just remember I like the Verdejo a lot that they produced over there. It's just
Hmm.
really it had a name and I could look it up what it is. It's actually not that expensive. If you want, I can go downstairs and go get it. But
I
um,
like some wines, but I can't have too much of that. Apparently I'm kind of allergic to the what the sulfur or whatever the
sulfites.
the
Yeah,
sulfites in it. So like I could some wines like if it's a Riesling and doesn't have that in it, I could probably have some, but um, yeah, that's why I don't have wine too much.
I had
But
they have this one that was like it's like a 0.5%, like a musti or something like that, or mustar. I can't remember.
hmm,
It's probably like the Spanish way of saying it even, but it's it's really sweet. Like maybe it's almost like the mash or the meat or something like that or whatever it is, like from the beer kind of idea.
mm-hmm.
Super, super sweet. You could almost like give it to your kids and stuff like that because it's only
Is it
0.5%
kind of like
and it's
this?
what is that?
This
Margarita?
is this is a new brand from the Lakefront Brewery. It's La Grossa
Glu
Rita.
gluten gluten free in a beer?
Yeah, this
Is it
is
a seltzer beer?
this is margarita style ale, and it's
Ale.
like it's like a margarita style ale. I had
What's
one
the
before.
percentage?
Um, it should
What's
be
the IBU?
0.5, I would think, but then again, it tastes kind of
Point.
fruity.
What do you mean 0.5? Can't be that low.
4.5.
Oh, so it is only less than like it's like a pilsner.
Yeah, I had a few. I had the
But
other
it's an
few.
ale. Hmm.
It's a margarita style ale. The only thing
Does it
is
say what IBU it is? It's probably only like a really low IBU, but maybe it's like
the
26 or
IBU.
something like
Do you
that.
mean
Like
I don't
it's
know.
like the potency index, basically, how strong it tastes.
Mm,
It's
no, I don't.
probably pretty seltzery. It's probably
I,
almost like a. It's probably good though. Probably sounds good.
um, I don't know. People might like it, but it's like it's the one time that I've had it, and like I'll tell you how it tastes anyways. But because I tried the other one, I'll see if it's the same.
Pour it. Pour it. Is that your glass?
No, I got to get a glass. I'll go get a glass. This is my
Pour it.
this is my soda glass.
I don't even know if I have any liquor or not in the house right now. I keep taking bottles over to my friend's house and then just leaving them there.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Well, I don't like to drive home with them open. For some
Oh,
reason, I
yeah.
don't mind driving there. And it's not even like I'm drunk or anything on the way home. It's been so long because I always hang out till like 2 in the morning or something like that. And I stopped drinking at like 11.
All right. Well,
But in general, it's just
this is a New Belgium
are you going to the
glass here.
chalice here. Nice.
I like these kind of glasses. These are nicer for that. I like the.
Interesting cup choice for this, but it's not horrible. I always like that glass.
I don't really know
Let me see
like
this
what's the
pour. Let me see
best.
this pour.
Oh,
You gotta see the color here. Okay, so it's a light color here. Real, like a
guess what? Guess what fruit flavor is really heavy with this?
uh either lime or maybe like they chose
Ding, ding,
pineapple.
ding. When I
It's
had it before,
margarita. like a sour ale then.
It's very sour with the
Yeah,
lime, but
so it's a sour ale, but they don't call it a sour ale.
it's almost actually maybe I'll turn on another light.
I wonder
Might be
what
a better
makes a
light in
sour
here.
ale actually considered sour.
It's all
I don't
right.
know. I even opened my fridge up and I said, "You're gonna." Did you? I told my wife, "Did you surprise me by having some beer in this fridge?" And she's like, "No, sorry." I was like, "I can't really get upset with you. You don't have to say I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
Sorry I didn't
interesting. It's
surprise
like
you."
it's I don't know if you're seeing it the right color, but it looks like a little yellowish green color here.
Yeah, yeah. It looks
Um,
like the exact color of urine after like your third pee of the day.
uh, what, green? Oh, I don't know.
Hmm.
But
Well, I do smoke a lot of pot.
well, then you're getting some herbal stuff in there apparently.
I
Uh,
eat a lot of oregano.
yeah, you smoked a lot of Parmesan, right?
I'm not Hunter Biden, man.
um, no, but like I love lime, but when I have this, I'm like, that's a bit too much lime. I don't know. I feel like there's a little too much lime taste in there,
What if you threw
because I
like a
used
pinch of
to,
sugar into the whole thing?
and you saw before when
Heat it up
I would
like
have some drinks,
crack and then
I
pour it in. Like
I put a quarter
absinthe.
lime in there. I put a like actual quarter lime in my beers,
You
or
won't do
just
it because that's yeah. Yeah,
it.
throw a little salt in there. Watch out, it'll
Uh,
foam up, but teaspoon of little salt might that thing taste more like a margarita, and you can just pop it down.
I don't want to do that right
Not
now.
even a teaspoon, a little less than a teaspoon.
Maybe next time, but I'll just have it like that. I
It
don't.
foams up though. Salt makes beer foam,
I don't
like
have
really thick
margaritas
foam.
much, dude. I really don't. I think maybe the time I came over, but you didn't do any salt with it. You had some kind of fucking vial, and then you just poured it into the glass, and it was done. Remember? You that or
I
you're
don't know. I like margaritas.
some kind of mad scientist. I don't know,
You can
but
always tell an alcoholic when when they say, "Oh, I don't do margaritas. Tequila makes me crazy." And so like, yeah. I don't know. Tequila makes me feel the same way as any other liquor makes me feel. Where if you drink too much, you feel sick.
hmm.
You don't, you're fine.
Yeah, I don't have margaritas much. I don't think I have a big taste for that particularly in my mouth. I don't have like a I could have one or two and then it'd be like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm okay."
Yeah.
You know.
Again, it's all like what you're doing with it, you
It's
know?
just it's just the same way any girlfriend I had in the past, they want me to have some wine with them. I have like one glass, they're like, "Oh, let's have another." I'm like, "Yeah, you can have another." I'm fine.
I mean, I would
I
never
I
want
don't
to
know,
have like
like
spaghetti and meatballs with like vodka and orange juice. You know what I mean?
really.
Like I just there's that sounds appealing to you.
No, no, no. There's a vodka sauce for spaghetti that I
I
got,
hate vodka sauce. I hate vodka
and
sauce.
I like it on this. I like it on certain spaghetti. I think the really thin kind I like it on, with maybe some mushrooms thrown in there or something like that. But
Or
I don't
angel
like
hair.
it. I don't like it all the time. Yeah, angel hair. I like it with that, but not all the time. But it does
I
taste good
usually end up
sometimes.
going
Um,
Alfredo more, but that's just because I like to make my own Alfredo sauce.
mhm.
I mean, I make my own tomato sauce too, but
Now, see, on the other hand, I could drink like almost half a bottle of vodka before I even start feeling anything. It's just like I could
yeah,
drink that like
vodka for some
water.
reason I can always drink a little bit more
I
too.
don't know why that is. So that's I so
That's
I
why
I kind of stay
that's
away
why I
from
like.
vodka. I
I mean,
don't
I
drink.
like Scotch and
It's like
bourbon and whatnot, but that's
as
why
soon
I
as
like rum the most because in the end, like a nice four shot of rum or like filling up the whole glass with rum and a splash of Coke with get some lime in that whole thing.
hmm.
You just sip on it the same way as you sip on Scotch, and at the end of it, you feel great. I mean, Scotch, I feel ballsy. I feel like I want to go and do a little bit more. Hit a golf ball harder.
I don't have
But
scotch that much, so I always forget the taste of it. Honestly,
with rum, I
um,
just don't care. I'm always like, yeah, fine, I'll dance, or fine, I'll, just swing a little more loose. It's not really about swinging harder. Scotch makes me not angry. I'm not angry, but it's more like, got to get it done. Rum makes me like chill. It's like counterintuitive what I
You're
was
just
just saying
saying
earlier about
it
y'all
puts
making me feel.
it gives you into an energetic mood,
But
right?
tequila doesn't make me angry. I don't know. People always say tequila makes you angry. It doesn't make me angry. If
Mm,
anything, tequila makes me more like, let's drink some more tequila. Tequila is one of the only few
I
things
think
that I
the
can
fact is
actually
that
drink a lot of.
that tequila that you let me try before, that was probably the best I've had, and I like the taste of it. But like this
Probably because
tequila,
whatever tequila I drink is always really good usually.
this tequila, like the back of my mouth are feeling like really puckery sour. It's like, it's like
And it
I
probably
want
just
to get
putting
rid of
some
that
tequila in
feeling.
there.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like it got too much acidic stuff in
You're
there.
making me want to just like go look in my cabinet now and start taking some shots. I wanted to have some drinks today. Plus my vape pen died.
Oh,
So
you just got coffee tonight? It's gonna
no, I just had
suck.
that apple cider.
Oh, okay. Are you gonna wait like a couple hours for it to
Should have
ferment?
some coffee.
It's ferment in an hour or
Yeah,
two.
it's slow and steady.
one
Might have some preservatives in that one. I
one
don't
minute
really,
at a
I should
time.
just make my own apple cider because I don't know, store-bought apple cider is so sweet it like burns your mouth.
Mm.
You don't think so? It's just so sweet for me. I try to cut back on sugar.
I
You know what's a good way to
I
cut back
don't
on sugar? You want to, can I
I
tell you
don't have cider
something?
anymore. I used to when I
A
was
good
younger, but now I
a good trick to cut back on sugar. If you're an avid soda drinker, you always drinking soda and you want to just try to cut down your soda and sugar intake, buy a pack of seltzer water and just mix it a little bit. Start with like a 70% soda and a 30% seltzer. Work your way up to 50-50. Before you realize it, seltzer water tastes fine. The bubble sensation is really all you need.
hmm
And, you're good. I just drink seltzer water now. I'll have soda now and then, but it's always like, my mouth is so dry from all this like sugar that you chose to put into it for no reason. It makes
yeah.
me feel like, are you guys all in it to like just try to create? Are you like working with insurance companies and all that, or doctors like to try to create
I get the
diabetes and sell
feeling
you?
they want to kill us
Like, do
faster. I
you
think
want to
that's
kill us
what
or something? Like,
I think that's what they
no,
want to do.
or maybe it's because they know sugar's addicting and they can't put heroin in their sodas. So it's like, well, sugar's addicting. I'll just jam as much possible sugar as I can. And
That's
it's
kind of.
like
What if is sugar a drug? Like caffeine is
we should
considered a drug?
we should classify sugar like
Is it?
natural sugar shouldn't be, but raw processed sugar should be.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
It's
That's
so
true.
like bleached raw processed, like bleach, well, not even raw, like processed. It's
It
so
That's hard to get away from, man. Like all these addictions you have in your life, and that's just something that a lot of Christians talk about as well, is to get rid of the addictions. It's so hard to, because pretty almost every single thing that you can buy, unless you're going to a health food store and
that's why I make
spending
things myself.
X amount of dollars on a health food store,
Just make it yourself though.
you're oh my gosh, it's all with sugars, all with caffeine, all with
I I
addictive stuff.
cut I cut my cookies in like half of the sugar, and although they taste more like bread, they have a hint. It's like a biscotti, They have like a hint of sweetness to it,
Hmm.
and it's good. I mean, I don't even put like I don't want my kid to know what super super sweet constantly tastes like. I mean, she does. She's obviously had plenty of sweet things. I'm not like a
hmm
tyrant that doesn't let her try things, but
Yeah,
like in
but
the end,
here's the thing that I've learned, and I think I know it's true, but like my dad died when he was younger, and you know that, right? Um,
yes.
he died apparently of diabetes and all that, but growing up from that side of the family, they I don't think they ever put a restriction on his candy limit, and his teeth fell out when he was younger, and I think it was due to hard candies that he probably ate. So he wore dentures, and he just had this. Diabetes was so bad he had that, like, if he went into one of those crash moments, that he had to have like a can of sugar on hand. I think the fact is his family never restricted him in any way from sugar. They just were like, you want more, have more. Here's more, you have more. Maybe it's like a feeling like you're doing good by giving them what they want, but the fact is, sugar, you
But
can't just survive on sugar
sugar's
candies
like
all
in a
the
sense like you
time.
think it's like the devil's food because it's like sugar releases endorphins and stuff like that. So if you're getting all you can't get that back after time. You know what I mean? So people who typically have tons of sugar are like more depressed unless they eat more sugar, and it's like
Yeah.
it
Hmm.
becomes like a vicious cycle. So it's strange that
It's almost like something that
we don't really talk about it.
we don't
Like
talk about it, but it's a
you see
very
on the back of a
deadly
lottery ticket, have a
thing.
gambling problem, call this number. But you never see on the back of a candy bar, have a sugar problem, call this number. Like you
Yeah,
don't need it.
yeah.
Or split that candy
And
bar in half.
how many
Take one bite.
diabetics are out there because of this, growing up and just getting bombarded with sugar, and your
And
parents just keep
diabetes
giving
is
you
hereditary. You know what I
candy
mean?
and
You're putting that into your next
cookies
kid
and
too.
yeah, yeah. And so that's why with my kid, I try to tell her sometimes, and I even try to tell her grandparents sometimes with some things, like try to give her stuff with cinnamon in it instead, or honey or something like that. It's a substitute.
Well,
It's
yeah, I
not
think
addictive, and it's better and healthy for you in a lot of ways, in so many
because
ways. Because
even
I
raw
don't
cane
want
sugar
her.
is not nearly as bad as processed beet sugar, you know, sweet beet sugar, which is like what all that white sugar is sweet beet sugar. It's not even cane sugar.
Hmm.
I mean, look, you get the same taste I've had where they take the machines, they put a piece of sugar cane in, and it just wrenches out the juice, and you drink it, and it is the perfect amount of sweetness to have it just a delicious drink.
How was it at
Uh,
your other job with your candy factory that you're at? How much sugar did they manually put in the thing? Was it more than the caffeine, or was there more chocolate
Well,
in it
we
than?
didn't really have caffeine or anything.
Well, I mean, the chocolate is like
The
caffeine,
chocolate
right?
ratio. So, first off, chocolate contains sugar. So, if you're adding chocolate, you're already adding sugar. In
So
fact, it's like
did
20,
they
30%
separate
sugar.
them and then put the sugar in later, or just
We don't make
mix them and then?
chocolate. Well, at the company, we didn't make chocolate.
So
We
you
bought all our
bought the
chocolate.
chocolate, right?
You buy the chocolate, and we were
Oh.
just they would produce like fillings and whatnot. Now, if you're
Hmm.
looking in terms of filling ratio, yeah, typically a typical filling ratio for a lot of our cheaper stuff would have been mostly sugar. Yeah, I mean, because you're looking at like using a pre caramel mix, which is just in a sense corn syrup, you know, sugar and cream cooked up,
Hmm.
and you get like a nice, you know, good consistency that you can work with for batters and stuff. You know, for so it'll hold up, and then so you're mainly doing that, and then you're looking at like half the amount of that is straight chocolate, and liquid sugar in that ratio is probably only like 10%,
Hmm.
you know, something around there, as well as other things like a little bit more cream and a little bit more, you know, preservative and binding stuff and like that, you know, whatever else you need, little things like that. But beyond that, yeah, I mean, the main ingredient was always sugar because chocolate contains sugar. This pre-caramel contains sugar. You're adding more liquid sugar into it. I mean, yeah. So you're looking at probably realistically, it's gonna be like 40% plus of straight sugar.
You know what's hard, man, is to get away from the addiction to sugar, probably more than caffeine. Because
I think so. I would
some
think
people be
so.
like, oh, you can get away from caffeine, and even with the
And what about the
coffee,
combination of both caffeine and sugar put
well,
together is like
that
super,
yeah, that's like
you know, that's
way
something
on.
they don't even want to talk about that like why do you think everybody goes to Starbucks? Because they found the perfect way to mix their addictive sugars with their
Hmm.
addictive caffeines.
So people will, because there's so many people be like, oh, alcohol is such a poisonous toxin, and you're eating sugar all day long.
And when in
That
fact
and
alcohol,
here's the thing, and alcohol can be good for you in some senses, to
right,
some
right.
degree,
It's like if you
but
abuse it is when it's bad, but on
but
its own, it's actually quite healthy
yeah, yeah, yeah. Even my grandpa said, a couple beers, and he, all the way until his
for a
90s, he
long
he
time.
had
People
two
drank
beers a
one beer
night.
at breakfast. Beer at
He,
breakfast.
yeah,
People
he
had
would
them
have
all the
two.
time.
He always told me beer was healthy for you than sugar. And so the
Yeah.
thing is, if I want to get away from sugar, that's a harder thing to do than caffeine. And so
I thought you were gonna be
sometimes,
like, I just need to drink more beer.
but no, I'm saying that's the better. Like, you shouldn't drink beer all day, honestly. But besides the medieval monks, they assuredly did that because they were the brewers of the beers. But what I was trying to say is, you look at how they say cancer eats sugar, cancer survives on sugar. If we cut out sugar from our diet, wouldn't we stop cancer altogether? I mean, how hard would that be for us to
I don't know.
sacrifice
I've
that
never
kind
heard
of
that
thing?
before, but
But
I certainly think
but
that
but
cancer
they
and sugar are related,
but
a
they
little
say
bit.
I've seen other people that have these studies that said that that's kind of the truth. It's cancer survives off eating sugar. It's coated in sugar, maybe because that's what it likes to attract. It
Well,
survives off all that. So maybe it does, but that's the thing. If sugar is giving you diabetes, if sugar is some of the main components for cancer are sugar, uh, this very thing that we
I don't
really
know.
really like has become the death of us,
Here's the thing of it.
and we don't
I
even we don't
I cook a
even
lot at
think
home,
to
right? I cook a
you know
lot. I mean, I make my own pasta sometimes. I make my own bread. So I find that no matter how unhealthy I choose to make my own food, I mean, I can just dump, heavy cream into something. I can add extra fat to,
it'll
you
taste
know,
great.
but it'll make it take my biscuits and gravy. I'll have biscuit,
Hmm.
I'll just go full blown on the biscuit.
I've known
No
that
water.
with some place I've gone
And
to too. I can taste it and I'm like, wow, this is really good. But the taste
I
I'm
won't
tasting is
gain
extra butter or
I won't
extra.
gain like a pound from it. I won't. However, if I go out and eat McDonald's one day or Arby's one day or anywhere pretty much out,
Mhm.
I'm like the next day I like, oh, I can't, what I mean? Like I'm bloated and I can see that
Yeah,
I already gained a little bit of weight. And it's just like weight gain to me is really not sugars or and it's preservatives. You choose to eat preservatives, you will gain weight because it's preserving in your body.
and I find it
Like I
weird.
know that sounds stupid, but
Why do we have all these preservatives? People are there every day buying it, and it doesn't ever last any more on a shelf than maybe from the process to the end line, maybe a week. It lasts only about that long, but we got preservatives in the food that make it last for years and years. That goes in our. What I found out by watching an anatomical thing, there was this. I'll have to show you this YouTube site with this anatomical guy. He pulls up the organs from the cadaver, donated bodies, and all that, and he says, "This is where it goes. This is what happened." It goes through your system, and then it immediately gets down to the bottom where you will poop it out the next day. But for the most part, it all gets liquefied and shot into your bloodstream almost immediately. There's almost no food sitting in your colons by the time it's done. It's all liquefied and shot in your bloodstream. So your blood is where all that food goes very, very quickly when you eat it. So it's not so you're not hanging on to it for the most part. It's just liquidated in your system
I
now.
mean, this is the
So
devil's
that
world, not
so
to get all corny, but this is the devil's world. So it's like almost everything that we're doing, the devil wants us to be doing. If I mean, he wants you to be eating all that frozen foods and stuff. Like that's how he wants to try to get
it's
us
weird, but
down
we
this
don't think about
idea.
it. But we're getting tricked all the time.
We're always
With
trading
foods and
convenience.
uh,
You
you
think
know,
everything's more convenient, but instead, I mean, it's the same thing. Instead of having your own wash and all that and going down the road, now we're all locked into like electrical plans and all that, and look what they can do. Because you don't think that if the electric vehicles become popular, that in the end that you're not going to have to pay more for electricity just to be in your house as
yeah,
well.
they'll have an
All
electric
electricity is going
tax
to go
on
up in
it
price.
too, and
And you know what they'll say? Well,
you
you
know,
should have went with our solar plans back in the day. That's what we put them out for. And look how that
they'll
turned out for a
they'll
lot of people. Hidden fees and
they'll have a
maintenance work that they
solar
didn't.
toll. In certain areas,
Yeah,
there'll be a solar toll. You know,
it's like a big bubble around our planet where the rays that go through
yeah, it'll be a
get
big ring
scanned.
that moves around, and once it gets to the dark spot, if you don't pay, it doesn't move. I don't know. They'll
I
find
mean, yeah,
some way to make
politicians
extra money. Because I find it funny.
they're so creative on how they can find ways to take money from you.
they're like, well, just go out and get an electric car. Yeah, a $60,000 car. If the person can't even afford the basic gas, and they can afford
Well,
a $60,000
listen, the
car.
energy secretary who's saying that,
I don't know
she
about that.
invested in electric cars. So her telling you to go get an electric car while she's invested in electric cars as the
Yeah,
energy
it's
secretary,
because it's
it to me
tied
to
to the
me is
stocks.
honestly, I mean, it's not just like trying
But
to do
that's the
some
same
kind of
thing with
insider trader for
that's the same
to
thing
me
happened
that's
with the
treason.
vaccines that people didn't
That's
know about.
treason. Look, I'm not going to say that electricity isn't better than gas, electric vehicles isn't better than gas. But the idea that you think that you can be a shareholder in electric vehicles and then agendize pushing electric vehicles onto
Mm-hmm.
the people who voted you in or whatever, however it is, or I mean, she didn't even get voted in, but it's just in general, I'm just saying that should be illegal. There's absolutely no way that
It,
you can push your own opinions
yeah, and this is something that
based on your own investments.
this has been one of the biggest medical mafia takeovers the
I
world has
mean,
ever
I mean,
seen,
think about it.
especially
Think
with the vaccine stuff. Because if people didn't notice that, you're not going to notice the stonks, and you're not going to notice where people invested in the stonks before all this stuff came out. So when this is coming
think
out, people are like, no, 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 this has nothing to do with. Well, they
but
want to
think about
make
this.
sure
Look,
everybody gets
their
it, and
work
they're invested in the Pfizer companies and the companies that are giving this stuff out, and they're forcing you to take it. It's like not only are they going to make money off the thing that they told you to make, but now
think
they're
about
getting
that
a
too.
guarantee bump in their pay because you're taking the thing that they
Well,
told you to take.
Pfizer's new documents came out, and they admitted that they know that basically herd immunity or natural immunity work just as well as their vaccine. They know it.
As
They
it
now have
always
proof of
has
it.
been. They put fear into people's minds, saying, "Oh, we don't understand herd immunity," when we have for thousands of years. Even the
But
past 50 years, it's been talked about, and everybody kind of knew it. And nowadays, it doesn't exist anymore just because of one virus.
this is what I'm saying. Look,
Yeah, I'm just
you
saying
have
this.
multiple
There's
other
more
business
to this than meets the
models.
eye, and people
You
are.
they're working on micro nuclear reactors, miniature nuclear reactors small enough to be able to just house like 30 houses in a development and whatnot. These little tiny nuclear reactors. They say they're so much better, in the idea that if they were to, have a problem, it wouldn't be that catastrophic, that they can operate, a certain amount
Now
of
that
houses
would be
right on one.
cool.
And it seemed like a great idea, but the government, no, they invested in electric vehicles. They do, it doesn't matter if somebody comes out and be like, I've created something magical that everybody can have for free. I didn't invest in that.
That's what
It's
Tesla
bad. It's
did.
bad.
That's what
I mean,
Tesla
it's
did.
no different than the Tesla situation. I know.
That's just the thing. That's what Tesla did. He was going to create towers that were going to generate electricity from the air, pulling in
Yeah, and
the
people
electrons
that
into
invest in
that,
that, so they
and then
don't want
shooting
that.
electricity. And then they found out, wait a second, we can't make money off this. Get rid of that stuff. We're not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Look,
They didn't even want to do it. This is what we want to do as people to help everybody else. Because here's the thing: if Tesla stuff worked and we had free energy, what would be the point of going to wars?
well, this is
I
what I'm
just
trying
don't
to
like
say.
that guy.
Look,
Oh, okay. We're going to war because we don't like that guy. Every
yeah,
war
see how that
has
works.
been over some source of resource since the dawn of time.
Or yeah, or
Maybe some other.
positioning for your
Wait. No,
resources.
maybe that's not totally accurate. The Trojan War, I think, had to do with a which woman? Was it
A
fought over?
woman.
Was it Cleopatra or was it? I
No, it
forgot.
wasn't
But
Cleopatra. It
then
was
again,
Helen.
that was probably
It
for
was Helen.
resources too. Oh, for
Helen
Helen,
of
yeah,
Troy.
yeah. But it was Helen was the resource, right? I guess in that
Right.
sense, you wanted, you know.
Bro, you just got us canceled. You just got us canceled, man. Just
Yeah,
like
man,
that. The
there
show's
might have
over.
been some other
You
resource or
just called
something
a
like
woman a resource, man. The show is over.
that. Well, the
Done.
guy at the time thought that she
We're
was
done.
worth it, and so she was the prize that he
What was
wanted to
once
take.
romantic is now considered sexist.
I'm not saying that this is a different time, a different place, and different way of reasoning. I'm just saying that's what happened.
But
But
when you
then
look
again,
at history, everybody's everybody's ancestry is guilty of something, but only
yeah,
the most
for
recent
the
get
most
blamed.
part, all the wars are done over some kind of resource all the time. Because what else would you go into some other place for? Like, oh, these people need help. We'll go and help them, and then you conquer the land and like, okay, you're a part of us now, but you gotta, send your imports
Are you
back to
talking
our
about the Middle
country.
East with the United States? You just like
Oh,
referring to the Middle East specifically on that
oh
one?
no, no, I don't. I'm not saying that. I'm
Seven
kidding. I'm
billion
kidding. I
dollars
am kind of
later.
saying that. Yeah, we
Yeah.
people think this. A lot of people, and the fact is, it would be nice if there were some real, just valiant ideas for it. But ultimately, it comes down to there's something there, and if they ask for help, it's only because there's something there that can be traded for that help. Otherwise,
I
we're
mean, the
gonna.
Middle East beat the United States because they basically did exactly what Jesus said: keep yourself separate, never be in large groups, and all that. They could never find anybody. It's kind of funny if you think about it. Like they just
Yeah,
basically followed the Bible strategy, and it
it,
worked.
if the early
The
Christians would have
evil United
followed,
States.
if the early Christians would have followed what Jesus had to say, there wouldn't have been as many Roman candles out there,
Yeah.
and Colosseum forced visiting, forced visitation, to the lion's den.
Look, I know we were talking about games earlier, and that got you all excited, and I was getting a little nostalgic about some games because, like I was saying, my daughter really likes Sonic, but I do want to talk about what makes a boy and what makes a girl, because I think people are confused.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
like,
they seem
I'm not a
very confused.
biologist. I'm
I'm not
not
a
a
biologist, so
biologist,
it just seems to make sense. There's one thing,
but
then you're one
but
thing.
I've
It's another thing, you're another thing. Then
I
again, everybody, then there's the in between. You
if
know,
you use the word identify to describe what you are, I mean that's fine, but truthfully, that's why you have to say I identify because you already know you're not. I mean, that's the whole point. If you were like I'm a man, it's like, oh, but you're like I identify as a man. It's like, okay,
yeah.
great. Like you just admitted to yourself you identify as that, but that doesn't mean you are. Like you've admitted, you're admitting it. It's fine.
Just how hard it, like I was saying earlier, how hard is it to have a baby, a young little baby, grow up and learn birthing person versus mom or dad, or because I was saying, what is it meant? What is it going to be for men? It has to be squirting person, right? There's a squirting person and a birthing person because that's the only way.
Squirtle.
Squirtle, Squirtle. It's like there's only
Squirtle,
two.
squirt. Squirt, squirt.
Squirtle, Squirt. But a squirting person would make sense. I'd be like, okay, if you want me to call myself a squirting person, I definitely will.
Well, it
I'll
doesn't really make that
identify
much sense
with
because there are some women who
with the
squirt
group
too.
there, and I'll be
Maybe
like,
you don't know nothing about that, but
yeah. I'm just saying we're not we're getting to the point where we're just showcasing our basic stupidity over almost because it just comes down to that. I
why don't we
imagine
just call them
myself
like
as this, and so
any people and outie
therefore,
people? Oh, you're
here's
an
the
any person.
here's the thing. I
You're an outie
imagine
person.
myself as this, so therefore you have to believe it too. What is that? Does that sound like religion? Does it sound like spirituality? Does it sound like a belief system? Yes, it does. Ding, ding, ding. You found out what it is now. It's a new religion. It's a new religion of self belief in yourself, and everybody has to respect it.
I mean, I give
Well, in
it
the
to like
past, that
next.
didn't happen that way.
I guarantee I give it
You
to
know,
like next year when we start seeing propagandized like animal TV shows where they're like, and this threesome of these goats and whatnot. Like the man loves to find another man and they hound that woman together, or vice versa. It's like this is like it's perfectly natural in the world of where multiple men take turns on. It's like it's none of this stuff is true. Like I mean, other than like the fish, where they all just kind of get off in the water and whatnot, I
they just
guess.
drop it on the ground. They don't even know what's going on. It just
But
it's
I mean,
they.
you know what people love about birds of paradise so much? Because of how hard the man has to work for that woman. That's why people like it. It's not even the pretty colors. They just love that the man will like try so hard and clean up everything, and the woman just comes over and watches. And she's like, "All right, give it to me." And he's like, "Yes, got it." And that's what people love about birds of paradise. I mean,
Because it
that's their
emulates
favorite.
our reality.
It emulates
How
our
hard a man,
reality.
because that's the thing. How hard a man has to work to find the girl that he wants, and she
I
literally
mean, we
doesn't have to do
we
that much besides just pick,
we could
and
be in a society of frogs where the male frog watches the eggs for days and stays awake for multiple days until those eggs turn into tadpoles, and he'll watch out for any kind of spider or anything like that,
mm,
or a bee or anything. We could live that life and be like, wow, I love these frogs. They remind me so much of my own life.
mm.
But then we need some paternity leaves and whatnot.
You're like, I identify as a frog because that's the difficulty of my life. I've lived like a frog for such a long time.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you don't think that that's sooner or later
He
going to happen, that
slash frog.
they're basically just gonna fake what an animal does to be like these animals love to be like
Mhm.
polygamous with each other. They're all like banging each other and they know it. They're partners, but they oftentimes cheat on each other. Like this lion cub pack, you know what I mean? Like she's with the head one now, but as soon as he goes to bed, she'll be with the other one tonight, you know.
Does
And
that
it's
happen
like,
with that, or is that?
no, it doesn't happen because the male lion will smell that sex a mile away and be pounded and killed the other one. You don't cross the big, alpha male.
That's what I
It's like
think. I
that's the whole
mean, I
point.
think some of them might not care so much, but I think that's the truth. I think, animalistically, you can smell,
Well,
because even when you look back to sperm and stuff, like the sperm that's in there will try to kill off the sperm that's incoming. So even the fact is
was it
when
you who
when
said
you
that?
have.
Even the shape of the penis like is designed to like was it you who mentioned that? Even the shape of the penis is designed to actually go in and clean out what's in there.
Hmm.
Like it's designed to like pull out what's already in
Well,
there.
me, I don't know. I mean, it depends if it's circumcision or not, I suppose. But
Well,
um,
no, even as the this uncircumcised penis gets hard, it
oh,
still moves
that,
that penis.
possibly. I don't remember talking about that. Maybe that was somebody else you knew. But uh, how many guys you talk about as far as what the
I
penis
talked to
is?
loads of guys about what penises are used for.
Oh
You
man, I
can
don't
you
want to.
can
I
join
honestly
my
don't want to.
chat.
I
It's a
I
group of 80. We all just basically dick pick each other and
yeah.
say, is this look right? Mine curves to the left. Is that normal? Like, send
So
a
so
pic.
you're like that one group that sends pictures of their dookie to each other to describe like what their
Well,
health situations.
pooppics.com is gonna go viral as soon as I decide to make it.
Everybody, you saw that one. Uh, I don't know if it was a news article or something like, but these three sisters would showcase their dookie to each other,
For
so they
poops.
would so they would know how healthy they are based upon what it looked like. They
I
put it
got a
on
couple
plates
different
and they were showcasing it. I'm
I
like,
got a couple
oh,
different pictures of my poop in my photo bombs there.
yeah. Let's not. Let's. I don't want to see
When
that
one
right now.
when one looks interesting, come on, come look at this.
No, no.
Lately they all
I'm
smell like
losing.
death. All
What?
of my family, all of our poops smell like death. I should Google that. Why?
That's because you just recently ate roadkill, right?
I think it's because I just make my own food all the time now. That like it doesn't smell fake anymore. It just smells like straight death.
Yeah, that's I don't
I
know
like
if
I like to eat a lot of chili and make my
I,
own cornbread.
I'd love to see Gordon Ramsay come over to your house and you know try
I'm
some of
not
your
gonna lie,
stuff.
I actually
See what
imagine
you.
Gordon Ramsay coming to my house and be like, make me a scrambled egg. And I was like, okay, so little bit of salt, pepper, pinch of
Bloop
nutmeg. Now
bloop.
I know you're not supposed to use this much butter and eggs, but you're Gordon Ramsay, so we're using a quarter stick of for one egg. Also, I'm putting a little
I've
bit of
heard that
heavy
you're
cream
not
in that.
supposed to use nutmeg. Nutmeg isn't good for you.
What?
Yeah, I saw a
Tell that
doctor.
to Townsend.
I saw that to a doctor guy talking about that. He says some of the foods you shouldn't eat. Nutmeg was one of them. I'm thinking nutmeg. I barely
That's
put that
probably
on,
that.
but
That's probably that Doctor Gumphrey or whatever that's always telling us that tomatoes are the devil and lactic acids are horrible for your
no, no,
gut.
no. That's not the name. I could look it up. Uh,
He's always saying you can't eat anything good.
uh, I'll have to
Raw
look.
nuts, peanuts not actually a nut. It's it's not actually a nut. It's a bean, and it's a bad bean containing lactic acids that'll
No,
put
no.
holes
Like
in your belly.
a lot of people said,
Fuck you, dude.
a lot of people said tomato. In the past, they would say tomatoes are bad for you. Tomatoes are good for you. They have the lycopene in them. Potatoes are also good for you. They're like, oh, it's a starch, it's a carb, but it's a healthy carb. It's a complex carb.
I ate tons of carbs on it. I mean, I'm a little overweight, sure, but I haven't gained any
Potatoes,
weight for
pot,
years, and I still eat.
potatoes have never get made me gain weight. If I mash
I gained
potatoes,
all my
basic
weight when I worked at the
potatoes,
chocolate factory, and I ate tons and tons of processed chocolate. That's when I gained all my weight.
and I think that's what it was too.
Haven't gained
Especially
any
for me,
weight.
if I'm eating out, it's just all the processed stuff they have in the food that makes it. But I found out when I have some healthy stuff, if I boil some potatoes or boil some vegetables or something like that, and put a little oil on it or some.
Steam them.
You put some butter on it. Well, I mean, I could have steamed them, but boiling is just really fast and easy. Yeah, so I mean, I don't have a steamer, so
Boiling all. Did you drink the water afterwards?
no, I don't drink the water.
Then you wasted it.
But I even with garlic, you can put it. You can boil the garlic, pull it out, and the garlic pulls off the thing like easy peasy. You can't even. It doesn't even. You don't need a knife. It'll just peel right off. You can eat the garlic clove and it tastes great. I think it tastes a little better after boiled, but
Found this good deal. These my grocery store had like their smashed scallops. Wasn't like smashed, but like the sea scallops were like that were ripped or whatever.
mm-hmm.
They smelled fine, so it's like they're not old. I had a lot of them. I
Mm-hmm.
got like a pound of them. It was only 10.99 per pound. What do I care if I'm putting it in a pasta? But then, but then the guy said to me, "Oh yeah, that's really good if you like mix it with some stuff." My wife just looked at him and was like thinking in her mind, "The fuck asked you like, what we're gonna do with those scallops? Like, you you let me buy the food and you sell me the food, but you don't need not unless I ask you. You don't need to tell me what I should do with it."
Yeah.
That's like it's like a cop when he gives you a ticket. Dude, your job is not to be my teacher, okay? If I was going too fast, issue me the ticket. I do not need a morality reasoning for why I was going too fast or what I could have done. That is not your job. It is not your job to tell me what I did wrong or tell me like, like what I could have done and all that. Is
Mm-hmm.
you can tell me what you're giving me a ticket for and you can say I'll see you in court.
Yeah, well, that's what we were talking about earlier. Police are trying to like play the detective so they can maybe get a detective job at some point, but they're not supposed to be they have to procure what they know, but trying to go deeper into it, that's the court system right there. You know, that's what the court's for. It's not You're not Judge Dredd, judge, jury, and executioner. You can be like, oh, I found this and I know what that is and I could tell you and blah, 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 Yeah, I know what you're saying there, but
Well, that's what I mean. Like you should always play it cool because for all you know, like that cop's annoying as hell and
mhm.
like the judge is like, oh, he's brought in another one for what? Oh, a drug charge. Exactly an eighth, like every other person that he's planted these drugs on. Like, and tell me
Mhm.
exactly how you did it. I'm dismissing this because honestly, I don't even believe you.
Because
Like,
what if that's the case?
but
He's trying to go
but
for a
if you,
position that he's trying to become a detective. The judge knows him because for the most part, like sometimes the lawyer or the cop or the judge might know each other because of so many
all
times,
the
and
time,
after the
all the time,
court, before the court, they could talk to each other and stuff and buddy
they make
buddy
sure
up
that
at some
no, the
point.
cop will always make sure they try
and
to be friendly to the judge. That's the whole job. It's part of their job that they want to,
and
be buddy with their judge.
and so if the judge is kind of more of a moral character and he kind of knows that the cop is going to go to any length to find this evidence, even if he has to maybe plant it himself, the cop might be a little, or the judge might be a little skeptical on that, and maybe that'll work in your favor. But you know,
Maybe in a better world.
yeah, it, yeah, I don't know how to fix that system. Like we talked about that the other time, but we were going to talk about some games. I was kind of thinking
Well, I think
about that.
the whole problem with the system is again, it requires humans to make it function, including the person who committed the supposed crime and the person who's suing them or whatever, opposing it, or was a victim. You know what I mean? They're still all humans. So you're always going to get the one person, even if he's like, "Look, I'm going to tell you the truth. I did it wrong," but he's like, "But let me explain." He's gonna try to put it in a way that's just like, "This is why I did what I did," or sympathy, or I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is the best case scenario. So, and the other person is gonna always try to be like, "And they did this to me, and that affected me this way, and all the problems, and I just want you to understand how much grief all this cost." You know
Good
what I mean?
grief,
Like,
Charlie Brown.
and I'm just trying to say is like it's always like extreme versus extreme in the system. Like you can't
Mm-hmm.
go into them being like, yeah, they they affected me $1,000. If they can just pay me back that 1,000, I'm
You know,
good. It's
I
always like
think with like
it's
what
always
we're
like, and your emotional distress for 200, and time off work. You're always trying to like dig into more. But the reality is 9 times out of 10, a lot of those situations I'll see on like TV and stuff like that, it's like you're both guilty. You chose to, you chose to get involved. I mean, you know what I
hmm
mean? Like oftentimes I've seen it with our business, I've already turned down people all the time. When I see people coming in, they try to tell me to do this and they're like, "Oh, and I want this like this and this like this." And I'm like, "Well, I don't, this is going to take time, or I'm going to
hmm
have to, yeah, so I can get this." And then they like they're not hearing, "So you can get this ready for tomorrow then?" And it's like, I said, "I'm not going to work with you. I'm sorry. I can't. We're
hmm
not going to work together." It's because it's like you're not hearing what I'm saying. You don't want to be a partner here in this, because that's what everything we do is like, technically, like we're a partner in it in the beginning. I'll produce it for you, but I need to know what you want. I can't I can't just make it up for you. That's not what I do. I don't work like that. If you want to do that, well then you're gonna have to owe me a heck of a lot more money, because now you're asking for my
hmm
creativity. And my creativity is not the same as my time.
Yeah.
And that's
It
you're not going to
seems
want to
it
pay that. You're
seems
not going
like
to want to
we're
pay thousands and thousands of dollars, because that's
you,
what I think I'm worth.
you know what I think? I think the fact is because we went, and it probably was 2000.
Millions of dollars. I'm worth millions. Just so,
It probably was like 2012 or whatever. But when we went into the new age with Aquarius and all that, the Mayan calendar
hmm
predicts it and all that, we're coming through this change, and so everything's kind of shaking up. People in positions are starting to maybe wake up to thinking there's just something more to this. Because you ever think about before 2012, don't you feel kind of like a little more sleepy in mind, in a sense? Like you feel
Well,
like you think a little more clearly now than you did back then.
I
Not
think
just
I
because you're
think
not just because you're older, but it's just like
right. I think the
there's
part
something
is
different happening now, and you feel it.
is that
And
we
you
we in our age, a lot of us just tie it into, well, I got older, I matured, I grew up, and it's easy to do because time constantly moves. But I
I
do
I
agree
was
with you a
growing up
little
when
bit
I
on
was younger
this,
too, and I felt
that
like
that
I
2012 in general, I mean, what is that? That's 10 years ago now. So you know what I
and
mean?
you know what the strange thing is, that was like just around the time that I was getting divorced at that time. Just around that time too. It was like a new
10 years ago. That's
yeah
just around the time I was getting married.
yeah. Big things seemed to happen in one way or another, right? But it seemed like there's something happened then too, because even growing up when we were younger, they kept even with 2000 they were telling us like,
2012.
oh, the end of the world is coming,
2012.
you know, and then oh, the computers aren't going to be able to count up to this number, and then everything's going to go to hell and back. And I was just thinking, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It'll never happen that way. And then I've talked to some people recently, and they're like, "Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
because I was
if the
always thinking that too.
computers if they couldn't count up, then they break." I'm just thinking, no, that wouldn't happen. It just the computer time for the time would stop, or it would glitch, but everything else would keep moving along the way it always is. The time
I
is its
would,
own function, and then
yeah,
the
that's what I
computer
was always thinking
functions
in
on
that,
another premise, but the timer's
right. You can
within the
just,
computer. It's like,
well, I understand that you might have to rewrite your code to a 4 digit, and that's perfectly understandable. But one, that's really simple to do. I'm not a
and two,
programmer, but
the computer isn't
just
based
adding two
upon the
extra
clock.
decimals does not seem like it's that difficult.
That
Yeah,
you
and
could turn off
two,
your time on your computer, and the thing will keep going. The thing will keep working because it's a
well,
program
well,
within the computer, not for the computer.
two.
That's
Even
why
if
I was
it did
like,
switch over,
oh man,
even if it did switch to 00, and everything started to go error, 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 the coding is all still there. You could just like change the date back and be
yeah,
like,
but
okay, so we're still in
exactly.
this
That's what
date.
I'm saying. If they
But
made it,
like,
they could fix it the very next day,
like
and it would be like,
the computer doesn't hook up to the universe for its time. You input that time in there. You could just input a different time.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. When people are thinking that stuff, I was just like, you gotta be, you don't think that hard when it comes to
Well,
computers and stuff. Because
this is what I'm.
even if your clock, let's say your clock had 3 digits, right? just 3 digits, right? And it couldn't go past that. If you took your clock to a clock maker, he could fix stuff. He would find a way to put an extra dial in there and turn it back into what it needs to be for the current time, and you'd have it back within a day or two. It's if because here's the thing, they made it so if it breaks, they can fix it. It's like people didn't understand that. They're like, but they made it, but it can't be fixed. Oh my god! How do you fix something that you made before and it this was the end of the world. This is what everybody went into believing, and even my parents to some degree were freaking out about that. I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding me. You can't be this stupid. You just can't be that dumb. It's like they made it so they can fix it, right? They make
Maybe
new
it was a
updates
test.
all the
That's what I'm
time.
saying. Maybe it was all a
It,
test back in the day to see how people would doom and gloom on things. How hooked are people to the TV? At this point, TV is like brainwashing people.
yeah, yeah. I mean, even in Futurama, they put it on
People
there,
bought
which
into every word. People bought into every word on TV back in the day, and that's what
and they
scares me.
still buy into every
Before we
word
were
on TV
woke,
today too. The whole
before
toilet
no,
paper
but
shortage never happened. They just made people believe it happened. They stored everything in the back shelves that they wouldn't let people get all that extra toilet paper. All your toilet paper is made locally. They don't come from China. You don't get all that extra stuff from China. It's all wood products that was cut down here and then processed here. All the materials were sent to local places that were made here. It was a big scam, but people fell for it. And then people fall for this stuff all the time, man. It just like, yeah, it's a test to see who will do what, but to what degree and then
yeah,
to what end.
nowadays people all woke up. What makes me afraid? That's what I'm saying. This is what I said before, though. People are completely blank slate and everything that we know. The only reason we think 2 + 2 = 4 is because that's what we were taught. You can mathematically look at it and be like, well, no, 2 + 2 = 4. I can also understand and comprehend that that's the same thing. But I'm just
Mm-hmm.
saying it. The way we say it, the way we know it, the way we experience it, could all be different. You could have things in the power of 8, and you would not look at 2 + 2 = 4 in the exact same way. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's all we're all adapted to society in a certain way. I'm not necessarily saying 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4. I can't really comprehend how it wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
equal 4. I'm just saying that we are in a system of, and you're right. I guess mathematics is like kind of the one nice thing about our world, that we're in the wall of mathematics.
That's what I've said
But
to a lot of people. I said the one thing you can trust is math.
right, and I guess that's what I'm trying to get around.
because
You're right. You
the
worded that much
system
better.
doesn't change.
Because when you learn about history, it's stupid. I mean,
That's why I said
it,
even to another friend of mine, I said, if we look back and I think I probably said it to you, if we look back in the past, we'll probably find out there are so many things that are not historically accurate. And the only way to figure that out, to find out the truth, is to look at the math behind the objects that are still physically here. Whatever is still physically here, it's here for a reason. It's not just there turned into a prop because somebody wanted to celebrate some magical holiday because they wanted to have a festival and then they try to make an absolute perfect recreation of that thing. No, that thing is there because that thing is there, and the materials that are still there because that thing was there. Even if the thing was blown away and turned to dust, the dust that's there is still part of the construction of the thing that was there. You can use the objects, you can put the math together, you can figure it out. Even if everybody lied about everything, you can get all
yeah, but that's the
the
truth. So
material and
people
mathematically
for a long
figure it out.
time, especially Egyptian history, but people for a long time have just made up stories that they've assumed. Even with like translating hieroglyphics, some of that's fake as shit. You didn't translate shit. You just made that shit up. I'm sorry. You just
Hmm.
said, well, this means this, and this kind of sounds like it's all, and if you put all that together, it makes a coherent sentence. Okay, that does not mean that. That does not mean that. Like that means that. That does
And
not. I'm just
then
sorry. It just doesn't.
even some languages that have a deeper meaning to the word itself could have a deeper meaning than what you're just reading. Like they
Right.
even say some parts of the Bible you can read. There's codes to reading the Bible, so you can read it the normal way, or you can read it up and down, or in different ways, and you can find a different hidden message in there. So what if they were trying to make very complex messages with a very basic statement, and they gave it, everybody read it, but nobody read the actual message. They read the basic message. You know what I'm saying? Like a codex, like a cipher
Right.
within the actual structure of the sentence itself. You know that people would do that back in the war days? They'd send out like a letter to their loved one, but really if they, every other capitalized word meant something else, like send reinforcements or something like that, versus like, I love you, honey. Can you go get some peanut butter and jelly from the store? But then inside the message is like, send reinforcements, send them to this coordinate and that. And then the enemy that sent the letter back to your wife never knew. They never knew because it just seemed like a normal message, but it was like the file within the birthday cake that gets sent to the jail. They never found it. They just thought, it's a birthday cake. We'll give it to the guy. And they and then
Well,
they get out. You know what I'm saying?
that's the whole thing behind it all.
Even
I
with,
mean,
I'm just saying, even things with words, there could have been hidden meanings behind things
I guess the
that
thing is like, do you need? All right, here's the perplexing question.
we take on such
Do you
a simplicity of life that we don't
you
try to
don't
look for the.
necessarily need the Bible to believe in God, but
Mhm.
you do need the Bible to believe in Jesus, because you'd never come up with the concept of like,
Mhm.
oh, God sent his own being, here to teach us and all
I
that. I
think to
guess
some degree there's the Buddha in that, which is kind of close in some sense, but then that's for the Eastern side, and then Jesus was, um, his message was more relatable to the Western audience, based upon all that. But yeah, I see what you're saying though. But that
but it's
you know,
like you can say, well, you don't know the true God then, because it just gets confusing then, because it's like if God is also powerful, really all the stories in the Bible shouldn't matter then. You know what I mean? Like the message, you can get the message across that God wants you to be good people, and it doesn't even take the Bible to know that. We know when we hurt somebody else, you should feel bad. I mean, you should get
yeah.
that bad feeling that it's like, and the thing is, you can either move on and be like, but this is what I said. If you choose to put yourself first in life and you still want to have a family, don't be upset when your kids don't care about you as you get older. They are only doing what they thought they're supposed to do. Put
Hmm.
themselves first.
Like
They
your
can't worry
your
about
your
you.
example of what you said earlier is a perfect example as to like, and I was just watching. I went over to a friend's house and I watched the Karate Kid, and you know what Mr. Miyagi says to him initially when they were talking about the
Oh,
other dojang. He says there are no bad students, there are only bad teachers, because the student takes after the teacher, right? And that's what he was saying about the other teacher that was teaching, Cobra Kai to just do whatever, attack them, don't care, repercussions, whatever, strike first. And like you're saying with that, like the person was saying their kid was such a jerk and this and that. It's just like you're maybe you're the jerk, maybe you're the problem here, because if you teach your kid that everything's their fault, then ultimately everything's your fault because you didn't teach them the
mean, it's
right way to
it's
go
per
about
look, it's
doing it,
perplexing because
you know?
you get this. This is what I think happens a lot with parents, and again, it's just speculation. A lot of parents, when the kids are younger, they like to push them into something, get them involved into something, and let them do their own thing and not really pay that much attention to them growing up. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
talking that 0 to 2. That 0 to 2 is always that, oh, we love you and you're a baby and we'll hold you and play with you and give you all kisses. And, you know, it's when you start to be like, they're old enough, they can start learning,
Mm-hmm.
and so they get them involved in things and they spend a little less time with the kids and have them doing more projects and stuff, or constantly not giving the kids as much love in a sense. They're just constantly, they look at it as love, but they're pushing the kids now, kind of, learn
Mm-hmm.
this baseball and I'm going to grab you and force you to swing a bat. It's not necessarily love to the kid. The kid feels like they're just getting forced to learn things. Now they might
Mm-hmm.
learn them and they might get really smart. They now know how to swing a bat and they'll do it on their own, and it learns a lot of things. But in a sense, as they get older than that, once they hit like 7 or 8, they have all these different things that they're very smart in a lot of things. They're doing well. And it seems like everything's great, but they haven't really learned morality yet. And it all comes crashing when you get to like 8 and 9 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
All this, I'm now old enough to understand things, and I don't like that. And I'm going to point it out.
Mm-hmm.
And when the person's like, well, I do like that, you get into all this conflict, and these kids don't really know how to handle it.
Yeah, that's the whole
So
point. That's the whole point. And kids,
it exaggerates. And what happens is the kids typically separate. Well, how do you handle it? Ignore it. I'm just going to go. I'm not going to fight the person, and I'm not going to yell at the
this
person.
was
I'm
this
just going
was
to go do
honestly
my
the
own
bad.
thing.
This was, I gotta say, Brett, and you might agree with me, and maybe other people will as well. But this is the bad thing about the millennials growing up in that age is a lot of parents would say, "Oh, just ignore the troll online. Just ignore them." And so they grew up ignoring the problem. And for a large part of my life, because I'm just before the millennials, with some family members that were just like, don't put up with stuff. If you gotta take on the problem, take on the problem. So there's a lot of times in games that trolls would troll massive amounts of people in huge multiplayer games. I would go troll them back. And it wasn't because I wanted to be mean, but I wanted them to learn a lesson. And they would tell other people like, these guys really don't like you. And I'm like, I don't care if they don't like me. I'm giving them back the same shit that they're giving to everybody else. And they're forcing everybody into a terrible position. So I'm going to give them the same thing back. Eventually, it kind of dissipated their group and they stopped doing that stuff. It's because they didn't, bullies and trolls, they won't stop unless you push back a bit. You can see this in Cobra Kai. You can see this in some other movies and things like that. As soon as you just decide to pacify yourself, when there's people bullying you and stuff, and you run away and you let them do it, they feel powerful, and you give them more power
But
to
I
keep
hate
doing
this
it.
idea of society, and
You know?
I don't like to. I do it. I'm a victim of this, but or a perpetrator anyway. I making fun of other people to their face. You're not like trying to be mean. You just you know what I mean. Like,
Well, if you're with friends and there's a bit of
oh,
Schadenfreude, that especially
but
guys, we
I
can do
don't.
that a
I mean,
bit,
but some people take it a little too
but
far and whatnot. And it gets extreme, and
mhm.
I feel like a lot of kids like to do this to other people that they're not really friends with, but they'll put them in
Yeah,
the group
yeah,
automatically, and the other
yeah.
kid like
Immediately
doesn't understand. The
you
kid's like, this person needs to fucking die, man. They keep making fun of me, and it's like they're actually like being, but they don't actually, they won't invite him to the birthday party because it's like, I feel like it sounds so personal now. No, it's like, but you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, well, we're not really friends. And it's like, I'll try to be friends with him. It's like, yeah, but trying to be friends with him by saying like, what up, small dick, is not really like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, you're not,
well, it's the
it's
same
not
thing
going
they
to make
did.
friends.
Like what Johnny did in Cobra Kai. Was it good for him to do that one kid? He called him penis breath the whole time. That was his only name. We don't even know that one guy's name, but he was always kind of the butt of the joke. But his name that he was named by his instructor was penis breath. It. I would hate to have that as a nickname and just not have any friends around. Like he just, I don't know. It seemed like he was trying to fit in and didn't really have any friends except for that one other guy that went to the other side. And like that seemed a little too much, honestly, from that part. I think it kind of did turn into the
That's what I'm
joke there.
saying. No,
But
but people like that. That's how kids relate now. It's like who can be
I can see how
wittier
that could
and
be a
like
little
it's not
Schadenfreude
about
in
being
a sense. But
cruel. It's about being creative.
sure,
A person
sure,
with red
yeah,
hair, calling them a freak is not funny. Calling them a rooster is.
Or well, a
You
lot
know
of
what I
people
mean?
used
Like
to call them gingers. It's always the typical terminology.
I was thinking of like a red mohawk here, but I didn't specify that.
That was like the Gen Xers
I guess just red hair
joke.
is a bit mean to be like freak. I was thinking like a red mohawk kind of, you know what I mean? Like pointy, like
Oh
gothy.
yeah, yeah.
Like, I mean like it's not about being cruel.
Hmm.
That's not what people in the society is like. But I don't necessarily believe that, yeah, okay, but being witty cruel, I mean, I just don't think that's like a great way to like
But
head in
what I was
society
trying to
because
say
it's not gonna be good.
what I was trying to say beforehand with what I
It's
was
gonna
saying with
lead to Will Smith punching you in the face.
sure, but I'm saying like what I was saying earlier with the whole trolling thing is those people that are tormentors, even just in a game, they feel they can just get away with anything. There's no repercussion. There's literally no police in these games to do anything about it. You could report them, and then maybe they might do something,
Hackers.
but they weren't even hacking. They were just making sure they got to the hunt before everybody else, and then not telling anybody about it. But then also telling everybody where the hunt was somewhere else, so they would purposely tell them, that the hunt was somewhere else, so everybody went to the wrong location and literally trying to screw people over. And then they would jump in and do some other shenanigans and stuff too. And they would dance around after they were done, laughing that they got it before everybody else did because they tricked everybody. But the thing is, that hunt, everybody could have participated in. Even if they got one or two attacks, they would have gotten the whole totality of the prize. But they made sure that those people just didn't get it, just so that they would screw with them because you had to wait a whole new week for the next hunt. So you had to wait like a whole nother, you might not be able to make the other hunt next time. So like stuff like that, and this is another thing too. Like even with my kid, like I'd like her to be able to like go to like a taekwondo place or, something that would get a little bit of regiment in her. Not saying I want her in the military or anything like that. And God forbid the draft comes out, which you know maybe, but I'm just like the military martial arts things, it gets people into a form where you learn a little bit of self-respect, not just for yourself but other people around you, and you can kind of work as a group with other people. A lot of people don't have this, and so this social structure of like learning to work together just doesn't come into people's minds, and you think you need to attack everybody, and these people are born like this, that they feel like I don't want to do any team things. I just want me, 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 And so when you try to include other people into groups for either games or other associations with things, and they don't work well in a team group, it's because they never had that growing up. They don't know
That's
what
what
that's
I'm
even
saying.
about. And
Right.
so
So it
when they're
all comes
trying to
back
work
into
in a
that.
what trying to work in a team group and they can't do it, they're going to look like a giant asshole.
But that's what I'm saying. Modern psychology will tell you you're supposed to put yourself first. Because if you can't take care of yourself, how can you take care of other people or help them? But that's wrong.
Well, to some
It's
degree,
wrong.
like you have to put your mask on first before you help out somebody else, because if you pass out you can't help anybody. I get that, but that is such a small example. Do you know how that
Yeah, and
example is
that's
overused?
okay. So
That
yes, in
example is
specifics
overused
and
too much because that is not a good example for what you're trying to say, and I'm going to let you go ahead and go with that, but I'm just saying they use that example a lot. Put on your mask before you put on somebody else. Yes, that's for planes and that's for oxygen because your brain needs oxygen to think and to function. But in other situations, if we only thought about ourselves first, that would mean that we could have a whole planet of mass murderers. We go kill everybody else, and I'm the only one left. I'm thinking about myself, but then again, there's nobody else after me. Do you see what I'm
well, that's
saying?
what I'm
Do you
saying.
see the negative side of that?
Putting yourself
There's,
first without law, it
yeah,
literally becomes like, yeah, you're right. Like
you could
the
kill
purge,
everybody else in the world, like what happens in the
It becomes
Martin.
everybody afraid of
You
killing each
know,
other because like there's no law
yeah,
and that's the society.
and you can't trust anybody
If
at that
there's no
point.
law, but everybody helps everybody out, you're not really that paranoid. It's like, well, but you can say, well, that's counter vindictive of who people are. That's not true. People are a blank slate. It's counter vindictive of who people are currently because we've
Mm-hmm.
trained them that way. but you start training your kids a little bit better and teach them, no, we need to be good to each other. Look, I've seen it. I've seen when someone doesn't have something just like 20 cents with them, and a dad or a mom behind them, like, oh, I got it, and give them the change, and their kids see it, and the way that their kids look at them, like, my parents are the ones that helped somebody who needed help, or my parents, like,
Hmm.
were there for them. I'm telling you, it's so much different than when you see parents who have kids on their phones and whatnot, and they're
Hmm.
not paying attention. They're not with their kids.
Well,
They're
their
putting
kids are in a
themselves
different
first.
their kids are in a different world now.
And
We
I'm
we
not
give our
saying
kids these things and they go in a different world, and I understand at some points, like you maybe you need some sleep and you're like, I need some sleep, and then the
well,
kid just watches some TV or something like that. But the most of the time
you
is
should
the kid wants to spend time with the parents, not so much the television. The reason that kids spend so much time with television is sometimes they're not spending enough time with the parents.
if you were to
And
work like God, you should put the situation first.
mhm.
Hey, if you get a bum to come up to you who, is clearly like on heroin, and he's like, let me get money, the best thing you could do in a situation like that is be like, come on, get in the car and I'll take you to a rehab. But you wouldn't even do that in a situation like that. You'd be like, oh, zzz, lock the doors,
Mhm.
and drive
Because
away.
you
That
think he's gonna stab you with a knife or something like
right. And
that,
he could. He very well could. Maybe
But
the correct situation is to just call the police. You know what I
but
mean? That
the
we've created.
but the thing is, with a lot of situations, most situations, if you help the person out, they'll feel more indebted to you than they would feel like you owe them something, because you
But that's
actually
because that's society we live in.
you took the time to help them out, whereas other people didn't. And this is the thing. Like, even here was his situation. This is a little personal on my end here, but when I was with my kid, not last time, but the one of the times before, uh, she saw that we were at a not a drive-through, but a food place or whatever, and they were asking for, like, oh, can you donate an extra so much of your cents to us for this organization? I'm like, no, not going to do that. Just the normal thing. And maybe some people do that. Maybe you feel like that works, and maybe that does work for you. But the fact is, what I do is, if somebody's really in trouble and I see them, homeless person or whatever, somebody needs a ride, typically I'll look them up and down, and I'll make a assessment, and usually I'll give them a ride somewhere, or maybe help them out in some way with what that is. And not many people do this anymore, and a lot of people say it's not recommended because you don't know who this person is. But it's like, I had to tell her, like, when it comes to helping people, I actually help the people. I don't know if this organization is really giving the money to St. Jude's. I don't know if they're just keeping it on the side. And the fact is, for the most part, you find out in America, this is the thing that I think we should stop doing. And I know this might seem like this hurts some companies and organizations, but this would make a real true charity. But the United States refunds you if you give to charity, if you put it on your taxes. So do you really give to anything, or is it the government giving to them? Because you get all that money back.
Just a multitude of everybody divided.
So
Um,
I'm just saying,
there was one time
if you stop
there,
doing that, then you're actually really truly giving to the other person something that was yours without getting it back. You're not.
there's one time. This is kind of a funny example
But
of it.
you see what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather be there and help the person
Well, that's what I'm
than
saying. Pay
helping
attention to your
some imaginary
surroundings.
idea of it, because some of these foundations
God puts all
overseas,
that stuff in the time.
but
Look, why do you think there's so many
but
homeless people in California? Because there's so many people in California that are thinking of themselves more. All that could divide itself out together. You don't see that in other places because it's not as, polar. You know what I mean? Like, but God creates the situations for everybody to be put in.
mhm.
And if you choose to ignore them, shame.
And
Let me tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you a story. So one time there was me and my wife and my kids, both my kids, wasn't that long ago. And this young kid, he must have been like, I don't know, 13, 15 years old, something like that. And for context, he's a black kid. and we're driving, and he sees us, and he's like, "Do you think you could give me a ride?" And I was like, "Where are you going?" And he's like, "It's just a little bit down that way, and he like mentions a road, and I know it, and I'm like, "Nah, man, I got my whole family with me." I was like, "It's not that far." And I started to drive, right? And then it started to rain. Started raining. So I turned back around. I said, "Come on, man, get in." And I drove him over where he had to go. Because I was
Mhm.
thinking, I said to him, I was like, "Man, I didn't give you a ride, just so you know, because it's only like a quarter mile, and you're a kid, and it's not that hard to walk that. You can do it. You chose to get that far, you can go back that far. But
Yeah.
it's raining, so
Yeah.
it's cool. I'll give you the ride. I'll get you there." And he's like,
Hmm.
"Thanks, man." And it's all this. I was like, but it's like I guarantee. I don't guarantee that's racism eating guarantee. But it's like he's probably looking at it like, "Man, this white guy don't want to give me a ride and all that." And it's like I just looked at it as like, "Nah, man, it's not even a race thing. It's an age thing. Because you're a kid, like and you're a little black kid. You hella strong kid. Like you got you hoof it, man. That's how you become the next quarterback and all that shit. Like
Hmm.
getting a ride from some random stranger, especially some white random shit. What are you crazy? You're lucky. I guess my wife's Dominican, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not.
Well, other people
And I
say,
had a family in the
get,
car, and he's probably like, they're normal, kind of.
and that's the other thing too. Like if you got a family in a car, it's kind of up to your
Yeah.
spouse and
I
your
mean, he made his
decision,
choice, but I
because
was thinking
if
like,
you got a
man, you
kid, you
got
got
the.
your family in a car, that's a big decision to make. Most of the time when I'm bouncing around somewhere, I don't have family in a car. So if I see somebody and they're just like, "Hey, I need a ride" or something like that, unless the guy is all bloody and he's got a knife in his hand, or he just has this crazy look on his eye, then I
I
might
don't
think
think.
twice.
I
But
don't think I'd be
you
able to
know,
do it with my daughter in the car. It's
and I
scary to
can
me.
understand it because if he attacked you or attacked her, I mean, you got to defend her and you, and how you can do that,
I mean,
effectively.
yeah,
So I'm
it's
just
just.
saying, like, some ways of charity aren't for everybody. But I'm not saying that's my way is the right way. Actually, that
Well, that's what
some of
I'm
that
saying.
it depends on your
If you would
state.
put your
Some
body like a temple and you were stronger than almost any person that was in your car, you probably wouldn't be afraid to take somebody in your car,
yeah,
and on
you're
top of
like,
that, let's say
hey,
you
I did
got
this
like a
for you for
nice
free,
size.
and you're gonna attack me, and
Well,
then you
yeah, I
just
mean that's what I'm saying. It's like if the
raffle
person even
stomp
made
them when they're in
even
your
made a
car.
move,
You
you
know,
just hold them back down, then you pull out your gun and point it at them, and it's like you need to get out. I
first you
don't
get
care
wrist control,
if if they're a
and then you
crazy
pull out your
murderer or
gun.
not. If they're a crazy murderer or not, they get black belted in the neck. You know what I mean? You just come back and you
Yeah.
whip neck them and then like pull out your gun and be like, get out of the car now,
Hmm.
with what you just said or what you tried to just do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, even a murderer would be like, I'm going to try to find out where this person lives, but now
Yeah.
is not the time. Like they're usually smart enough to know, like, I lost this battle,
Yeah,
but then you got to worry about them coming
unless
for you.
you turn it into a grudge thing, you're like, ha ha, loser, and you
Nah,
drive away. Then he's like,
well,
I
that's
know
what
your
I'm,
license plate, and then
well, that's what I'm saying. At that point in time,
you know,
probably realistically, the correct thing to do is also pull over to the side of the road, continue having the gun on him, be like, "No, I'm calling the police,
yeah,
and
you call the police.
I'm putting the incident on
Yeah,
record
let,
because you just committed a felony on me. I
yeah,
mean, I picked you up, and then you try to attack me. That's
yeah. A lot of people they
that's
want to run away and all that, but until you get to a safe place, then you should definitely call the police if there is definitely some kind of
well,
altercation, no
not
matter
even if
what,
you have a
no
gun
matter
on him
what.
and you're practic a black belt or whatever level of confidence that you can beat anybody that's gonna come at
Hmm.
you unless they're like King Kong, I guess.
Yeah. Plus, the other
You
thing is
know,
too, like if you have somebody in your car you don't know, before you do that, put your phone near speed dial with 911. Just make sure it's just a one touch button away. You can just press it and you don't have to think about it while an altercation is happening because then you're already prepared for it, and all that. But I'm just saying, like, helping people physically like it used to be, like if they're a homeless person, they're like, I wish I had some money and all that. They get a little bit of cash. uh, that was something that we used to be a real thing. Nowadays, we hear about people in different states that are just professional scammers. A whole family will go out, put up a
That's what
sign,
I mean. Like it's
and they'll just
true.
be like, "Can you give me, some money? Can you give me some money?" And
And
they can make
people are
thousands of
setups.
dollars a day, and you don't even
People
know,
set you up. They'll set you up so fast.
you know.
I mean, like it's they have a whole way planned out, and if they have a group with it,
Hmm.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like say you got, what I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying it. Everything's scary nowadays. That's what I mean. We live in a world of fear for me, and I
yeah,
try
and we're
not
and,
to. I
and
try
we
not
and we
to.
shouldn't. Honestly, this is something that even Roosevelt said, and even the way Jesus was trying to teach us was to not be a part of the fear, because the fear is what divides us even more.
But
If
but
we
that's what I'm
had
saying. Like,
if we had but it's not just that. It's like when you're making decisions, have discernment. So a lot of people will say, just go out and do whatever, man. Just throw fear to the wind and don't care about anything. You got to have
okay,
discernment. I think that's a
but all
wrong
right.
message. A lot of
So
these a lot
so
other
let me
people will
ask you
say,
this.
which just leads you to just jumping off of a cliff.
Let me ask you
Uh,
this, because I never understand these kind of stories where, oh, they like, I guess it's like a revenge thing. And this is what I'm saying. There has to be a level where you see, I know I'm not saying the actual point of the story. Like when you hear like apartments and stuff like that that have like human shit all over them and stuff like that, like
wow.
everywhere, like it's just destroyed. The whole place is destroyed.
Is
And
this
you're
a
like, what kind of
Jackass
tenants would
episode?
do this? No, I'm just thinking
He
like,
shot it
and it's
all on the
not just
wall.
apartments. I mean, I've seen situations in life that are like, how bad do you want to get it? Wow, it's weird. Your couch is moving, but the things on it like weren't moving.
What are you
They
talking
were
about?
they were still they were still. I
I'm
don't
talking
know.
to me.
It just must have been an optical illusion from camera angle, but because they have to move it. The creases in your couch were
Couch.
not moving. Yeah, the whole couch was rocking back and forth as you got up. But
This is not a
don't
couch.
yeah, we'll just move it back. Yeah,
That's not a
yeah,
couch, dude.
yeah. It's like yeah, no. It's like an optical illusion the way that
This is a
it
chair.
looks. Chair, chair.
A chair.
Yeah, it's a couch.
It's a big chair. Every time I get a chair, I got to get a nice big chair. You know, because I see myself in 10 years, and I'm like, I'm gonna get fatter.
I got this chair.
I need a big chair.
I've
I'm
had it.
probably just gonna get fatter.
I don't know. There was a lot of reviews. It's amazing. It's amazing how some things will have like no reviews that you're like, "Oh, I'd really like to get a few more reviews on this one." And then other things will have like 1,000 reviews, and like it's over the simplest thing. This is like it's just a cheap chair, it's just a cheap desk chair. But you'll get people like it hurt my back and stuff like that. And I'm just thinking like, well, like I mean, I guess if you're trying to sit in it all day long, you probably wouldn't have want to go that route.
Well,
You
yeah,
know what I
office
mean?
chairs aren't really meant for that. Well, I mean,
That's
they make you do it anyways, but they're not meant for that. Oh, um,
I don't know. I think part of it is you
I
also
can't
gotta
I can't fully sponsor this, but this is a cushion seat, and it's a
is it like
memory
for
foam.
massaging your
It's a memory foam. You sit on it, and I
is it like
used
room
it.
for your balls? Is that why that opening is there? Like
No,
that's
no,
where
no.
you sit for your
This is for your butthole. So when you fart, it goes through it.
for real?
I'm serious. So if you fart, it won't smell. The
Yeah.
thing won't smell like ass after a certain
Yeah.
amount
Well, there's
of time.
nothing wrong with that. You can let that.
No, I'm. It's just kind of funny. So, you know, it's also in case like you have an accident, it's not gonna go there. But yeah, I saw that. I'm like,
Is it actually like for medical? Like, is that why? Like, it's for people
um,
who need to
th-
sit down softly but still go to the bathroom?
no, well, no, this isn't for that. This is like if you put it on your chair or whatever. I can't really advertise the company because I don't remember the name right now. But I when I when I
I
play
guess you can't.
games when I play games, I think it's Cushion Lab or something like that. But when I play games a lot, growing up, I sat on the ground, And there's still games that I play today. I just still sit on the ground, and it's hard. And I feel like I'm, you know how you get the Charlie horse and you're losing your bloodstream because you sat down too long. I could sit on this for hours and not even like not feel anything. It's memory foam and it's cut in a
I got a cramp in
particular
my
groove.
leg because I lifted up my leg and pulled it inward.
If you
I
want to know
pulled
the
it the wrong
company
way.
thing, I can send you the email later.
I don't ever buy anything, to be
But
honest.
this thing was only like, I think it was only like $20 or something like that. I took this on my trip when I went down to Florida last time. Oh my gosh, best thing ever. The long trips, like it's so hard to sit down for such a long time. But when I sat on that, I didn't feel anything. Like no problems, no back problems. When you're on a trip that's 1,000 plus miles, you you need a good seat. You just do. Uh, I'm just saying, unless you got a new vehicle and you've got that heated, seat, leather, and all that, and the comfort,
But,
and cushy
but
comforts of.
I want to get into this details, and I'm gonna get specific about my life. This is probably the part where if we were trying to do some cuts in the video, we would cut right into this part
Okay,
because I'm gonna get into this, right? So
cut.
so I had
Or
like a
is it
little
like
bit of a
this?
talk.
Cut.
It's my daughter's 7 years old, right?
Yeah.
And I mean she's I guess like almost seven and a half even, so we'll give it an exact time frame to understand. And I know how in school you hear all these stories about pushing for like the sexual talks and all that kind of stuff and everything. So we've kind
How
of
is
like
is your school very liberal with that, or is it?
I haven't really heard anything about it. I mean, they've never even mentioned like the CRT stuff or anything. I think one time they kind of did a little bit, but
Hmm.
I haven't. The thing is, I teach my daughter a lot, and I tell her, you think for yourself. You learn to do things yourself. And you learn it. Like I'm not saying you can't learn it, but she's very honest with everything. Like my daughter's just super honest. She loves to.
Hmm.
She doesn't even care to lie. Like what's the point? That's just I don't know. It's just the way she is. Either way, I had a little bit of a talk with her, and my wife was there too. And we're kind of going into it's not really the birds and the bees, but it's like a pre-birds and bees, and it's really more about sexual nature and whatnot. And it's really because we talk to our daughter like she's a normal human being. Like that's just we ask her all the time for what her opinion on things are that are very current
Hmm.
and that don't necessarily even have an answer. Because as of right now, I don't really want to think like, oh, because I leaned more towards the whole Trump side of people thinking versus this radical left, that I'm better or something. I don't know what's right and wrong in the long run. And truth be told, everybody looks like they're just trying to help everybody else be better. And honestly, the people who mock other people are the people who I despise the most. People who keep mocking the other side and putting them down like they're less people or stupid. I really don't want to hear your opinion over. I'd rather hear their opinion and disagree
They
with
don't
it than
understand that
hear your
that's
opinion
they don't understand that that's what
and
Hitler's
make and
Hitler's
what
people did
and
back
make
then.
money off of it and make money off of
Hmm.
insulting other people. Your comedy really is dead to me. Now,
Yeah.
maybe it's not dead to other people and they want to preach like they're so kind and caring and loving, but they still love somebody who's super witty and all that kind of comedy crap.
Hmm.
Either way, straying off the point. So we had a bit of like a pre-talk, and we get into whole detail more towards the end of it all. Men have seeds generally, women have eggs generally, and it takes a seed and an egg together to be able to produce a baby. She said, she goes, I thought mommy just ate a lot, got big, and it turned into a baby. And we're like, no, it's a special thing. We didn't mention private parts specifically, and what they exactly do. But
You
it's
know what
just
I thought when I was little when
hmm.
about that? I thought it was when a guy and a girl they start kissing each other really hard, and then
That's what
the
she kind of
baby
said
came.
too. She's like, I know, you guys have to kiss. and all that. And I was like, yes, we do. And, it's either way, the whole point led into like boy and a girl. And I was like, like, what's the difference between a boy and a girl? And she's like, well, like boys tend to like to be more like running and stuff like that. And boys, girls like princesses and boys like princes. And I was like, boys like princes. I guess, I mean, boys like role models, I guess,
Like being
in
like
a
them.
sense.
You know what I'm
But
saying?
yeah,
Like their
and
personality.
like we kind of got into like, does like, can boys, give milk to a girl and whatnot, or to like a baby and whatnot? She's like, no, only mommies can do that, and we're like, that's because mommy, that's becomes a private part for mommy because it becomes functional in the system of how it all works, and that's why it's private. And our other areas are private too because they're functions for how our body works. And you know and we go into details of it. I say to her, I said, so let me ask you a question, because in today's world people like to experiment on all this. People, I said, so let's get into detail. I said, if they would cut off the private area of a person and put the other private area of the other person, cut off the PP and put a chuchi. I said, and then they also give them pills so that the guy, can now produce milk. I said, does that make that person a boy or a girl? And she goes, it's a boy. And I was like, why do you think that? And she's like, she couldn't really come up with an answer. She's like, I don't know. It's still a boy. And I was like, well, this is happening in our world right now. This is a very confusing time for a lot of people. People have very different opinions on what it is. I was like, personally, I agree with you. It's still a boy. And the reason I believe that is because, and I'll try to help you with your answer, God made us that way. I was like, God doesn't make mistakes. He made us that way,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
A
and
lot of the left would come out into the argument that for those that are just on the verge of being a guy or a girl, they could pull the testes out, or they could not do that, or I don't know how that all works, but it seems a little, I don't know.
and I and
I'm
I
not sure if
and
that
I
I'm not sure if there's any real good science to what they're trying to argue for, because it seems like, well, the penis does extend quite a bit. It's not like you can just shove it back in and then be like, oh, you got a girl. As soon as you come out of the mother, you're already developed into the system that you're going to be. While you're in the mother,
you hear
you're
the idea
developing into
of
one
the
or the
rib,
other. But when you come out,
but you're always developing into
you're
a man,
done.
and then you can turn into a woman, much like the same as the rib.
But I'm just saying,
God
it's
takes
like a baking process. Once it's all baked and done, it's done. There's not much more to change after you pull out your food from the oven. Before you put it in the oven, you got ingredients, you can make it what you want. But once that's just baking in the oven, the juices are melting and moving into the things that you want them to move into. Like if you made a lemon salmon meal, now all the lemon juice is baked into the salmon. You can't pull it out now. You can't pull the juices out. Now the juices are
comparing a
inside the
baby
meat.
being born and its sex to cooking salmon and lemon,
I'm just saying, it's like baking. When you're baking, you have all the ingredients you
bun
put
in the
together.
oven.
You put it together how you want, and once you
The
have it in the
yeast
oven,
has risen. Can't
you
just
you put it in for a certain amount of time, and then you cook it, you bake it, and you pull it out, and it is what it is. You can't change anything during the baking process. And once it's fully baked, you can't go back and uningredient the thing and put it back to basic because then you're double cooking it, and it's you know you lose the original parts of the original ingredients. You lose parts of the original nutrients by
I feel
extra
like any
baking.
trans person listening to this would be like, yeah, this is the argument we needed to describe what people were trying to explain from the... It's so funny. It's not wrong. I'm just saying it's just funny.
I'm just
But
saying the way that your body is growing, as soon as you're coming out and you're being birthed, you're going to start growing a particular way. Now, yes, there's the hermaphrodites that have, both advantages, but then they're just that. It's I mean, you could try to snip something and make it one way or another, but they're still that's what they were. What can you do?
it's
It's
not
like
my
but
situation, so it's not necessarily for me to work out. Again, you could say, well, God made you perfect, but the person could argue, well, God also put the mindset that I should change. You know what I mean? Like there is no end to what is the potential power of God and what is God. And you can't, you know what I mean? Like you can't really like
see
the
I see it
argument from
like
the other
this. I see
side is
it
always valid because it's an argument from another person. You can't lessen their argument. Like you
I
said, with mathematics, it's one thing, but with human function and whatnot, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
just I just see it like this, like, people say it's what God put into you, but I feel it's a part of I think it's a two-way system, just like everything is. Everything's a two-way street. There's barely ever
look,
one-way
if you
roads.
get if
So
you get a
so
person
if,
who's killing everybody, right? This is the whole point. You can argue if you get a person who's killing everybody, how long would it take until society says we need to kill him, or at least chain him to a wall and
if
basically
you
not care about him?
well, if everybody was for themselves, they would just be, well, that's somebody else's problem. I'll wait until it's my problem. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
Like,
that's what a lot of people do that too.
but I'm just saying,
That's
but
the whole
that's how we live now with our
put
systems.
yourself
Like
first,
like as
right? Put
soon as
yourself
something's
first.
happening, everybody, what do? You pull out your phone to record it because you want to have it recorded for posterity's sake and to know who is right and wrong, but you're not stepping in to stop it.
But who
Yeah,
determines who's right and wrong anymore? Majority.
but the majority
You know what
is
I mean?
just so
Look, I've seen plenty of situations where I
zoned
see
out.
the majority pick a person in favor, and I'm just like, you guys are being played.
But
I don't
the
care how
thing
you
is, the
look at it.
majority for
That
the
person's flipping out because the other person's just a complete a-hole.
but here's the other thing. But most of the majority is so zoned out. That's why they call a lot of people NCPs from both sides, because they're just ready to be there, but they don't want to get involved because I'd have to actually do something. You know, People are being trained to sit on the sidelines. Don't get involved. Don't do
Yeah,
anything.
well, your
Just
voice
do
can be
what you're
heard, but
told and put your
it
head
doesn't mean
down.
shit. You know what I mean?
You know,
Everybody. I mean, we already see it that there's like nobody who supports Biden and everybody supports Trump, and you still don't see any like change. I mean, it's not like your voice doesn't matter. It just doesn't. It's not really a
yeah. That was what was I trying to get to? The other point. I was you kind of drove off the cliff with this one, man. Well, I was trying to get to my point.
what were you trying to say?
Well, we were talking about kids and we were talking about the genders and all that. Um,
More about
oh,
bacon's
what
famine.
what I was gonna say is that I think it comes down to two things. You're saying it's God's choice, but I think it's also your choice. You're born. A lot of people say, I don't have any choice in being born. I think you had a big choice in being born. I think you wanted to exist and you came through the portal and you were born. And you made an agreement with God. But when you came here, you were going to be whatever sex that you decided to be. Whether even if it was the two separate genital hermaphrodite thing. You decided what you're going to be when you came here. Now, that's not to say that when you're here, you won't have attractions to the same sex. Most people are attracted to the opposite sex because that is the natural course of things, because it's the natural course of all things on this planet. All things on this planet, the only way to make the next generation is to be with the opposite gender. That's the only way that has worked since the dawn of time because it is biologically accurate. There's nothing wrong with that. It's always been that way. But for the thing to go the opposite way, that's a choice you can make later on in life. But for kids nowadays, to have the option to chop off things that you can't grow back, this
I just
this,
think
this isn't a cartoon anymore. A lot of people are so engulfed in these fantasies that they're like, "Oh, I'll just chop it off and I'll grow some boobs and I can get it back if I want to." No, you can't. They're not going to hold on to those organs for years after years, and by the time you put it back on, it's probably rotted away. You
I think
can't.
there's just an
You
increase of
you.
gay people, and people who just really, not even necessarily just gay, but
Yeah,
people who just
yeah.
really don't have much testosterone drive, or
And
the
that
estrogen
could be
drive.
due to
They're
the
just
foods
kind
that
of,
we're eating. It could be due to
and that's what I'm saying.
all
I
the
think
foods,
it's
all the
just like,
processed foods
I
and
don't
stuff.
know. You know what I was thinking though? Maybe it's not necessarily the foods. Maybe this one's actually just Mother Nature. Maybe when you start to get into too comfortable of a society, and people start to able to, maybe Mother Nature chooses to
Like,
cut off the amount of people being produced by just producing people who are passive.
maybe, but like you are what you eat. That's a big thing. You know,
or
you are what
or
you eat
or
because
yeah,
you
or maybe the people who would normally have, just
look at
not made
how
it.
modified our food is compared to how
Or
it
maybe
used to
that,
be.
yeah, or maybe this is something like, microwave food, second generations people now that are
Yeah.
just much more like, they're more cored out, and they're not made of like natural, they're just kind of shells.
Look at how we used to eat. We used to eat over cooking and over fire, over loose energy that would disperse and go everywhere else. Now with microwaves, it's shooting radiation into our food, and the radiation might still be there when you eat it. Radiation's bad, especially for space pilots and stuff like that. But we're eating that all the time, so now it's in our bodies. Does it mean our bodies are radiating and our bodies are trying to change? And so
Well,
when we mate with the opposite sex, that
but it's like I
now
said,
the child coming out is like, I don't know what I want to be because radiation is a part of because of microwaving foods and
cooking in
stuff like
aluminum
that.
causes more Alzheimer's. So all those people that bake potatoes in aluminum, now they have Alzheimer's when they get older, and everyone's like wondering, how did this happen?
Hmm.
They just had way too much like aluminum poisoning and all this kind of stuff.
That could be, yeah. There's certain metals that are definitely bad for you that they won't even talk about. Even in the vaccine, they've got graphite in
That's
the
what I'm saying.
vaccine. I mean
The papers
that's
came out.
bad. They used to
Pfizer,
give
no, Pfizer
people
knew.
they used to give
Pfizer knew.
what was it? Nirvana took was lithium. They used to give people lithium. We
But
know
look,
lithium's bad,
if
but
the
they
new
used to.
papers came out that Pfizer knew that natural immunity was just as strong as their vaccine in the long run, that if you already had COVID in the beginning,
Which other people have made tests for
that
to say
mean
it
that
was.
means that Fauci would have known, because as the head of the CDC and all that, you're having to read what Pfizer's putting
Yeah, but
out.
you can't make money off nothing.
But this is what I'm saying. So if they know, and
You
they
got
didn't enclose that information, I mean, how is this not treasonous at this point? I mean, you literally lied to the public about their health and let a lot more people.
But then you made the generation so not well, maybe copious isn't the right word, but you made them so complicit to the point of eh, oh well, you know that
No, you made
they
people feel like they're supposed to go get shots and stuff, because
well that's what I'm saying.
that's what's
They
the
made
best
them
thing for everybody.
they
And
made
it
them
actually didn't
complicit
even
in the sense
matter.
that you just do what you're told, shut your mouth, do what you're told, and everything will be fine because we know what's better, and you don't. And
I
if you
mean,
try to
you
find
you
out the
think
information, I'm sorry, you're just going to be wrong. We're just right, and you're wrong.
you think at this
These
point,
these people are
if
not your friend.
if they have simple algorithms that just code up red or blue, and based on speech words and what people have said, and algorithms that they just every once in a while get to tap into your information or whatever, and they get to pick up, and they just rate you down. Oh, that person's a red. I mean, like, it's just they're absolutely getting disgusting with it all. Like the whole, I'm not talking red or blue. Like the whole concept of technology and using it to gain
Mhm.
information so you have a better chance to be able to better your business, to give people what they want. Like, you're all psychos. I don't care how, if you look at idea of marketing, like, I need to get intel off of other people so I can better sell my product, you're a psycho. I don't care if you're a politician. Ted
Yeah,
Cruz,
I've
he
seen
one time Ted
I've seen
Cruz said
plenty of
it.
things like
Ever
that
since
too.
then, I thought he's
There
a psycho.
there's even things even on YouTube. Other people will make some forums or talk together with each other. They're just like, this is how we can get our algorithms up. We do this, that, and the other thing. We put in this kind of tag. You put in that kind of tag. Make sure you don't tag your videos like this. Make sure you don't tag your videos like that, and you'll be in the clear. You put up certain kinds of pictures that are shiny, and this is why I like even some right leaning or left leaning people on YouTube that I see. It's just like it's just clickbait. Like it's kind of not a clickbait due to the story, but when I see it, like even some people will put like I've even seen on the quartering they'll put like Will Smith like tears coming down his eyes and like oh no it's so hard. I mean, and I know we had a hard time, but I see some of the stuff and it's just like that's not really what happened. It's not real reality, and I've seen it from you know some I think maybe some Crowder stuff, but even some other things too. And you see it from some left leaning things where they put these pictures out there that are so egregiously not accurate as to the situation, but it's clickbaity enough to draw an emotion out of you to be like, was it that way? And then you go click on it and you're like, nah, it's not that bad. And even like some things they'll talk about, like, oh, I'm going to get rid of this, I'm going to get rid of that because they're going to do this and that. And then you look and you read about the stuff and it's like, it's not even about that. These kind of people that put the stuff out there, I know they're trying to make a buck, but I feel they're going too far with it. Even like looking at algorithms, just to put out an extra tag that isn't even actually
Right.
kind of relevant to it, but it
We need to
it
collect
could
cookies.
kind of be
We need
relevant
to
to
collect
it.
cookies. Every website, we need to collect cookies. Now I get it. That's not even the website. Probably the website's bought by another larger website company that's really
Mm-hmm.
collecting the cookies so they can sell that out to, a larger company in the long run. That's just their side hustle. But it's
Mm-hmm.
all still, that's what I'm saying. It's all whoever buys it, whoever wants it, oh, I needed that information because I need to know what people, what I mean? It just gets weird to me. It's one thing to be like, can you pull up the results on who bought my one pair of this kind of shoe? Oh, the ages between 35 and 39 were the highest
Yeah,
rate
but then
of
you
people.
see some
That's
of these
your
people
own
that
group and statistics, and I don't mind that as much. But when you start pulling information from, oh, this person like went to Facebook 45 times, in the last week, and they
at
also went to YouTube 370 times,
mhm.
and well, what do they look on YouTube? Mainly, flagged centrally as conservative websites,
Mhm.
comedy based, based on, and it's like
And this is another
with
thing
the
I hate seeing with people that think they're popular because they've got the views and stuff, and they're like, "Well, I'm popular because I've got the views." I hear this, but the message that comes out that I actually understand is that if you didn't have the same kind of views that I had,
yeah,
sorry,
you wouldn't,
I,
yeah, you just
I'm
sound so
I'm
dystopian.
not
Like,
even going to talk to you because the people that follow me, they follow me because other people follow me. So they're following me because the other person followed me, and that person followed me because
well,
that
there's two
person
types of
followed
people. There's two
him
types of people. There's
following me.
people with
So
opinions that will make them, and then other people who try to research what they think the opinion should be,
yeah,
and
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 a
and
lot of
try to be
people don't.
witty
A
about it.
lot of people don't want to come to the realization. Even our good friend Rob said, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. It's kind of the truth of the matter. It's yes, you became popular, but if the reason that you won't talk to somebody, and even with the Steven Crowder thing, I think it was totally wrong for that because he was very reactionary towards what happened with that, and I know this is an old subject and all that, but it wasn't about the interview that irritated me. It was about what he said to him. He says, "You don't even have the views that I have." So it just tells me that you're just playing this angle because it's getting you the views. It has nothing to do with your perception on reality and what you think is right and wrong. It just this side hasn't been tapped into, so I'm gonna tap into this side and squeeze all the juice out of it, and people will just follow me because I'm an untapped resource.
But that's what I'm saying. He just looks
But
at it
just
like
because you're an untapped
I'm only
resource,
doing this to gain followers off of you, and you're only doing this to gain followers off of me. But you're getting a lot more than I will because I have more people. And it's like,
mm-hmm,
you all just discussed me then. Like again, it's the same idea. Like if you're
it
doing
just
it just to keep,
if you're not
oh,
doing it for a genuine reason,
people
you
didn't
know,
like this about me. I need to change. But that's my favorite part about me. But I need to change it because people don't like it. Well, I mean, it looks like you're at a little conundrum then. Determine is it people don't like it because you're spitting in their eyes? Is that and but it's your favorite thing to do is spit in people's eyes? Maybe you should consider changing that. But
and then
if it's
there's
like
things
people
that
don't
they're
like you
that
because you
just
speak your mind and you're just, not always for the grain, like
and there's plenty of times there. Well, a lot of the time, I'd like
I
to do
always
things
value
where
people's weird
we're going
opinions.
with the grain, but a lot of times I find myself going against the grain. So it ends up being
I never know
kind
what
of
the
a
grain
circular
really
thing.
is because the media says the grain's this way, and then I meet people and they're always saying the grain's the other way. It's like,
Every time I start talking about something, it's like I'm kind of moving along the grain, but then the media twists it. It's on the opposite side. I'm like, wait, am I wrong? Wait a second. So I go back and research all this stuff. I'm like, no, it seems like I'm on the right path. And then they're going the other way. I'm going this way. I'm like, okay, fuck it.
well, that's what I'm saying with the media.
I'm
Like,
just gonna stick to my guns.
no, hold on.
Unless somebody can totally prove me wrong on something like that, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. And I've said this before, and other people might believe that I don't do this, but if I'm wrong on something, I'll say, okay, it's a valid point. I can see where you're coming from, and maybe you have the right of way with that.
I
But
love
that
being
does,
proved wrong. I
that
seriously
doesn't.
do.
But people don't do that.
It makes me feel
People don't do that with me because
like
for
it's
the most part,
rewarding. It makes me feel like I've been erred in life, and somebody's came along and corrected me. I really do.
what I'm trying to say is most people don't do this with me is because
It's like
I've already
teaching.
done so much research into it that there's very little to argue for, you
Because
know.
I hate being arrogant or ignorant,
And I don't want to be arrogant. I don't want
at
to
the
be
same
arrogant, but
time,
also I don't want to go around
arrogance
spouting a
and
bunch
ignorance
of
together.
bullshit to be wrong. There's plenty of people I know that will just
It's
say
easy to do.
anything they hear and act like they're right, and they're just totally fucking wrong. They'll
I mean,
just
it's
say,
easy to
they'll just
do.
respond to anything and act like they're right. But so many people do this; it just annoys me. It's like I don't want to be like that. That's not what I want to do.
I got this guy at work who really likes cameras, and like I like cameras, but I know nothing about them. You know what I mean? Like I have,
Crack.
an A6400, and I love it. I love taking pictures with it. It's fun, and you take great pictures with it, and you know it, it's like pimp status when I'm in DR too. People let you walk in anywhere you want. If you have that camera, people are like, just come behind the bar. It's fine. Like,
You're like, I need to take some pictures, guy.
yeah,
I don't know
they
you,
never
but
mind. Nobody ever minds.
you put
They
up a card.
they'll
Actually,
like they'll be
just
like,
get like
sir,
a.
this is a private club. I'll just like hold the camera up, and they'll be like, go right in. It's
I'm with the press. I'm a
yeah,
journalist.
they just look at it
I
like
need some photos.
whatever reason, like he's here for photos, it's publicity, and publicity is good enough for me to let that guy in. That's how they all look at it. Like it's funny anymore. Publicity is like everything, and you wanna be so you can't say the wrong thing in a public. It's saddening in a
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's what I think has happened over the past 20 years. Have
The
been
soup
trained
Nazi. It's the
is
soup Nazi.
yeah, we've been trained not to care about saying the right thing. We're just trained to just not care. And it's sad. It's sad. The NCP thing is not true just for one particular political side. It's true for everything.
Oh, man, that would be such a great like modern day Seinfeld episode. It's the soup Nazi, but instead of the Nazi being rude to everybody, he just always talks about like political stuff, and he's always like making crap up that's just like, dude, you're wrong about that. Didn't even have you would.
just
I guarantee
just
you just read that
wrong.
top or that tub article and you didn't even read the whole art. You just read the headline.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, you're falling for this.
But
It's like everything
this is the
all
other
day
thing
long.
that
It's
I
just like,
see too. This is the other thing I see too
but
is
his soup is so good.
other people want to argue you about something. They want to pull up something to argue you with, and then they're wrong about it. And then they don't go ahead and say, "I'm sorry, I was wrong about that. I wish I would have known more." They go, "Oh yeah, but what about this?" So they deflect,
They say something
spin,
like,
and they move on to another
well, it's time
topic.
for lunch.
It's like, or they move on. Here's a weird thing that happened today, dude. I was going to see my friend. He invited me over. I go over to see him. I park in his parking spot because he doesn't have a car anymore. His car rusted out and is broken down, so he lets me park there sometimes. And I don't go over there very much, honestly. I almost, I see him sometimes. I might pick him up, but I go and I park in a spot. This other guy's walking kind of my way. I park there. I get out. The guy's like, "Do you live here?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, that's not your parking spot." I'm like, "I know, but my friend lets me park here." He's like, What's his room number? Where is he?" I'm like, "Do you want me to prove this to you?" He's like, "No, no, I don't need to know that, But what's the room number?" I'm like, "You could just come out and say you want me to prove this to you." And so I tell him, and
Like, be like, can I
he's
see your
like,
credentials? Do you have a
he's like, "Here,
logbook you're
here."
gonna put this in?
He's like, "Here, let's go see." And I said, "So you do want me to prove this to you? Come on, let's go. I'll show you." And he's like, "No, I'm not trying to be confrontational." I'm thinking, you are trying to be
You are
confrontational.
trying to
You
be
are trying to
confrontational.
stop bullshitting me to my face. Stop lying right to my face. Stop lying to yourself, you idiot. And so
What
we
is
go,
what
and
is your end result if
my
I
friend,
say no to what you're asking of me? What is your
he,
plan? Are you gonna start blocking me? At what level do you feel
he,
like you're not trying to be confrontational?
here's the thing. I thought he might be the manager of the place because I don't know the manager or anything like that.
Is it an
So I go,
is
and
it well,
and
if he doesn't
and
identify himself as the manager of the building, then you have no reason to care.
I know, but the whole thing is I wanted to throw this back in his face because just like I told you about trolls, I don't accept
But does it
bullshit
have a number
from.
on it on the that you parked in?
Yeah, it has a number, and
So why would
my
he ask what number was the building? Didn't you
well,
just
it's a different
park in
number.
it?
The parking numbers aren't always the same number as the
Okay, okay,
building
okay.
number, and then some people move places and all that. So I'm walking in with him. I'm like, "Come on, I'll show you." And so he's rushing to the door, and I don't even see my friend inside in the main lobby way with the door because he's blocking the way. And he opens the door, and my friend just starts talking to him right away. He's like, what are you doing?" And the guy's like, is this your friend? He's parking in your space. And he's like, "Yeah, he can do that." He's like, "I let him do it if he wants to." He's like, "Oh, okay, okay. I just wanted to make sure. You can't park there for more than 5 days, and and all that." And then he goes
Read the whole
upstairs.
rule book. So let me just let you in on section B and C.
Yeah, and
You, you've gotten to understand A, you're not allowed to park there unless it's your spot.
so I'm
But
walking. So I'm
A
walking,
dash
but
one says you can let another person park there if it is your spot. So you're in the fine.
well, I mean,
But
if
let
you're
me tell you,
renting a
he
place
can't
and
park. He can't park there for more than 5 days. That's what he says.
yeah, so I'm just saying, if you're paying for the parking spot, it's yours. You can let someone park in it if you want.
I'm letting you know now. Today's Monday. That car better be gone by Saturday.
Yeah, and then I go inside because I'm thinking it's the manager, and then I walk by my friend and I'm behind him. The guy, I didn't even see where the guy went. My friend
I'm
says,
not I'm
"Oh,
not telling you as a friend that it needs to be gone in 5 days. I'm telling you it better be gone in 5 days.
he's
I will have that shit
so
towed.
so he goes upstairs. My friend looks at me. He's like,
I'm
"Who's
just a
that?"
concerned citizen.
Like my friend says, "Who's that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I thought it was a fucking manager." And he's like, "No, I don't know this guy." I said, "Well, then he's apparently spying on you because he knows if your car's there or not there." And so he's just sitting in his room, just staring at all the cars coming and going. And just because I parked there and it was just slightly within his path of walking up down the road, I blocked him from getting to the stairs. And so he was pissed off enough to ask me questions and lie to me about it. the very moment, so he could act like he's not confrontational, although he wanted to be. I'm just thinking, this guy's insane. You know, I'm like, so while I was there, I was like looking out, making sure he wasn't like gonna do something to my truck or anything, because crazy people are crazy people, you know. And I'm just thinking,
I assume
why
if you
is he
park
being a
there,
police system? Why is he? What does he have to police? You know, he can't. He's got to call the cops if there's a
well,
problem. He can't.
perhaps he's staking out the joint to rob, and now that threw a damper on his whole plans.
Because that was a free space and now it's not. Because I could come and go anytime I want to, and I could be like, "Who the hell's parking there?" and call him up, and then, that's a good point. But why would you want to rob a bunch of
Easy,
residentials and
easy
like,
break-ins, no alarms.
they got cameras everywhere now. Like literally, they've put cameras everywhere. Even in my place, they put a camera to point a camera at the trash can. I kid you not. Both trash cans have
Well,
cameras
yeah, that's
pointed
because
at them.
they hate dumping. They need to know who throws those tires.
Uh, well, it's not tires, but it's some furniture, I guess. Sometimes. But
Yeah,
then
well, you're allowed to do it in the first of the month at a lot of places and stuff like that. And like, I mean, at least in, you know,
the thing
but
is, they don't know is the maintenance guy that's going dumpster diving. That's the one that takes all the shit from the dumpster and puts it in his place. I threw one thing away, and then like the very next day, I was walking by, and I was walking by his maintenance room, and I see it shelved up on the wall. I'm like, I put that thing in a dumpster near the bottom, and now it's up on his mantle like it's a trophy.
what an idiot.
Because it was a project I messed up on, and it wasn't
One
all that
man's
good.
trash is another man's trash, but I'm willing to hang my trash on walls.
Yeah, man. I'm like, what is up with these people?
That
Like,
was profound, man.
it was kind of profound. I'll say that. We might have to quote that. Somebody
I'm
clip
gonna
that.
get that tattooed to my arm. Put that on Twitter right now. One man's trash is another man's trash, but I'm willing to hang my trash on walls.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what situation was about. It just seemed like some people want to be, and you even see this with Twitter. It's like people want to be confrontational over a headline. They didn't read the back article. They don't know what's even going on in the world. They don't even know if what they're saying is right. They just want to argue for it and act all verklempt over the fact that,
See the
oh,
Babylon Bee where
oh,
they said
I could be
they
wrong.
said
I
Canada
can't be
Canada
wrong. You know?
where Canada was getting all upset because of the "Don't Say A" bill.
Don't. No, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
I
it's a
want
good
to
one.
see that though. But don't say, eh.
Yeah, they said Canadians were getting all upset because there's a "Don't Say A" bill.
They used to make some movies about Wisconsinites talking like that to some degree, and I'm thinking Wisconsin people barely ever say a. The only time we say a is if we say fucking a. That's when we say a. But that's usually for swearing, and that's only if you kind of have Tourette's too. So that's another thing you got to be careful about. But you know,
I think I've ever heard you say.
I don't
I
say it
watched this
very
video.
much, but I do
I watched
say it
this video
sometimes. When
of a
I'm
guy who
really
has
mad, then I
Tourette's,
do
and
say that.
he was like getting pissed at people with fake Tourette's. He wasn't really getting pissed. He was handling it well. He's like critiquing their fake Tourette's. He's like, "We don't do that." It's like that right there is a sure sign that this is fake.
I've always wondered if I probably have a mild sign of Tourette's because so many times I just love to swear
I think
at
everybody
things.
has like certain. I mean,
That
that's like
politeness
the.
in me kind of goes away at a certain level of conversation where
I don't think that
where
should
you
be.
just like
That's like
the guy that was lying to me. I was at the point I was gonna start just going, just swearing and
Yeah, but that's
kind of
not
getting
like
on his case
Tourette's
about
though.
it. What?
Tourette's is like an impulse more than like a way of. I don't know. I feel like some people just have like breaking points
Yeah, there's a lot of
where
times that
where
I feel like I've gotten really good over the years of not doing it, but you know me years ago and how easily it was, especially when we
I just
played
think that
against other.
cities are getting so big that you can't recognize who everybody is, and there's so many places to go that it's gotten impossible to really know your you don't really know your people like individually,
You don't know your
but
neighbor anymore.
you know like a percentage of what you see, and that gets you like a certain way in a way. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. You know what the fact? You know the sad fact is, I almost want to actually do now that I just thought about is you don't know your neighbor anymore. Like I want to go around and meet my neighbors and just say, "Hey, I'm your neighbor. I haven't talked to you in years, but I just want to say hi." You know,
my craziest neighbor is probably the
I
one
know
that
that you
I
do
know I
that.
like the most.
I know that you do that. That's nice that you actually go and meet your neighbors, but I think one of your neighbors
I
is
know most
actually
of my neighbors.
could join to your house. You've got a duplex thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean,
they're nice. They're nice.
you got that, but like my neighbors that are around me, I never talked. Like one person that moved in,
I,
he talked to me a little bit. He's like, "Hey, I'm in this kind of business. I do this." I'm like, "Hey, I'm not in that kind of business. I don't do that." And hey, that's cool. Um, I'm over here and you're over there, and that was about it. But most other people, you got that one
yeah. I
right.
I I like my neighbor. I like my neighbors 2 houses down because they have a kid. Well, they have 2 kids, but the one's almost the same age as my daughter, and they'll play a lot, like trade toys and stuff. I didn't know that was a thing, but yeah, they trade toys.
You remember what? Did you have a lot of Legos when you were younger?
Yeah,
Did
not a
you ever ha-
lot, but I had a
Did you
very
ever
detailed.
trade your Legos with some other friends that had Legos?
No, definitely not.
I
Never
did.
would even think. No, I would not
I
even.
did, but it depended on what it was. If I felt it was value, literally I did bartering when I was young, and I didn't even know I was doing bartering.
We did that with
They're like,
Pogs.
I want that dragon you got. I'm like, okay, well, I want this piece, this piece, this piece, and that guy because he's got this really wicked looking smile and he's got his really cool beard, and that suit of armor. And okay, done, trade. Remember when you're younger with the baseball cards? I don't know if you did that much.
We
I
did it with
kind of did.
Pogs.
Yeah, I kind of remember that, but I never traded any Pogs. I never had a lot of those.
Oh, I got plenty of Pogs.
But that's the thing.
Yeah,
Like we grew up with
we
that
played a
trade
lot more. We played a lot more for fun, but like the one guy I always wanted to do, let's play for keeps. And you knew he liked to do it, but
because he
I think
wanted
it
to
was,
try to win it all. But those were
yeah.
the sore losers. Even when I
But
was in
well,
Florida, there was a guy that we would, and I love doing this. I wish I could do this with some friends, but we'd have risk nights. We'd go over to someone's house. We'd all play risk. But he wanted to put like a bet on the table, like $5 into it. So whoever won would win the $5, kind of like gambling a little bit. But he stopped after a while because I kept winning the games and he lost the money most of the time. And one time he was about to throw the board in the air because it was only $5. I mean, come on! It's not like people could re up and get back into it. It's not like you're losing. I was at a job where people were playing against this one guy that was kind of a shark, and he would win $10,000 off of playing pool.
well,
That was my boss.
I just don't really like money anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, if we could just do something for the enjoyment of it without having to cash in on it,
well, I mean, like I don't really like
you know.
gambling or lottery tickets or
Mm-hmm. I'd rather just have
anything.
like a risk night with friends and not even put money into it. Just have fun, just to have fun at it without having it be any kind of seriousness. But that's what games turn into after a while. Everybody wants to make some kind of cash off of it, whether it's behind the scenes or right there.
I mean, if you're good at something, you want to be able to, use it as, geez, as like a life rather than just a
Well, yeah, I get
hobby.
it. I get it, but I'm like, if it's just some friends playing a risk game at risk night, it doesn't have to have money in it,
Well, but
you know?
it's the problem of it is it's not really beneficial to society. you get a lot of these things, even in a sense that sports aren't, you can argue that sports calm other people down where they can watch the sports that help relieve them pressure.
Hmm.
But I certainly wouldn't consider that worth millions of dollars to each person individually. But either
Yeah,
or,
but I just see it in other places that have different systems set up. Like even when I went to Brazil, or if I went to Europe or someplace like that, it's like almost everything you have to do costs something. You can't just get away with something for free. Like even if you're gonna go to like public toilet, you got to put money into it. It's like, doesn't the system pay? No, they don't. There should be things that
that's a
people
cool
should
way of
have
life.
that you can just enjoy
Where
without
it's
spending.
like the door's locked. It's like, yeah, you have to put the quarter in. Have to put a quarter in to use the bathroom. It's like, yeah, why not?
I know. I just wish, I don't know, but
I
I
mean, like
understand.
all restaurants will always look at that like, oh, of course you can use our restrooms, like that's open
If
for
you
the
buy a
public
meal,
if you buy a
you know,
meal. And it's like, I don't know, but it's
all you got.
at the same sense, it's like, well, should we start being like that more? Should we just start telling like a restaurant, it's like I want the meal, $2 cheaper, and I don't want to have to pay your plumbing bills. I don't use your toilets. I'm not the one, you know, taking a crap in there and having you have to pay $500 because the toilet won't flush.
Yeah,
Like, it's not my problem. I don't know. It's just that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not my problem to have to clean the toilets all the time now. You pay someone to clean toilets all the time now because
hmm
you open them up to the public and let them pee all over the seats.
yeah. I think that's something that I think us going into this new age is like we're trying to be so far into this technological age, but we're losing our common hospitality. Even the Vikings way back when, even if they didn't like somebody, someone comes over, they prepare a guest room. They feed the person. They take care of the person that's within their house because they want to make sure the person can't say that they were not hospitable. They want to make sure they put on a good uh, air so that the person will
And then
say,
right when they were ready, it was like, thank you. They would kill him.
well, no, probably not, but it's
Shoot him in the back. That guy, I
yeah,
hate him.
with the Viking gun. That's right. The
The
Viking
bow and
gun.
arrow.
No, they wouldn't shoot him in the back. They were very hospitable people. A lot of, but the
Unless they
history,
were hungry.
but the History Channel, they don't talk about this stuff. You got to look this stuff up. You got to look at the people from the country that will tell you things. You got to find this stuff out. That's what we're learning. This is the problem with schools. We're learning a bunch of bullshit in schools half the time.
Yeah, they would
Stories
teach
that
the same stuff that they don't even know. You keep talking about like how the Egyptians built the pyramids and all this in school, and you spend like so much time,
you spend so much
at
time
least,
learning bullshit that's not even real.
and it's like I'm not even sure that's true. Nothing like there's no indication of it. There's just none. What leads you to that idea?
Yeah, there's no hieroglyphics showing the people making the pyramids.
I mean, that's what I'm
There,
saying. Like
there's
I'm not
no
disputing
such
that they
thing as
didn't
a
make.
copper tool cutting through that
I'm
much
not
solid rock,
I'm not disputing that the Egyptians didn't like go into those big buildings and paint all over them.
and then maybe make some carvings.
They
Sure,
made some fucking yeah,
you can
like then they
go.
made some carvings and stuff like that. I'm not even assuming they didn't have skills to, but yeah, it probably took like all year to make one little thing. I mean, I even think that they obviously had the skills to get up on that Sphinx and whatever piece. I think the Sphinx has already been broken. I don't
Yeah,
think
they
they
say
did
the
it out of,
Sphinx had
I don't
a.
think they did it out of
They say the
disrespect.
Sphinx had a lion's head actually, but then it was carved into a person's head.
I don't think that they broke the Sphinx's lion's head. I think that they came back to it and the Sphinx's lion's head was already destroyed. And I think it was destroyed from something prior. You know what I mean? Like that was part of like the whole half of the head was taken off. But
Mhm.
when they came back to they're like, you're going back to the ancient lands, like it's dangerous. Like, things happened over there. And then the fact was that they became like a, big nation and all this. They even redesigned now that he's let us
Maybe
in.
maybe that was because they were moving from the age of whatever to the age of man in a sense. Maybe it was
Well,
the age of
well,
Gemini, and so they cut off the lion. They moved to the face of a man. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that could be a
well,
part of that.
but maybe there was a war though that they don't want to tell us about after the age of Gemini.
And it could have been.
That
And it's like
that
I conquered your land. I need
I
my
think.
face
See, I
on the
think
front of
after
every newspaper and Sphinx.
Gemini was
And
all before all of it. It was during, I think that after they
oh,
left and you came into Abraham's time period,
hmm
a little bit later, you came into that age of Taurus. It was like people were just animals on each other anymore. There was no God. The gods had betrayed them. Everything was like
or they
screwy.
were just gone.
I mean, it was like the Book of
What
Eli.
what if
Uh,
those
you know,
gods? What if those gods were aliens? Or what if the gods just disappeared because they're like, yeah, we did what we could, we're gone. We'll let them sort it out. They have to sort their own problems out.
Well, I don't think that
And
they were mining for gold because the thing is, if you have interstellar activity, Earth is not the best place to get gold. I mean,
well,
there's no,
maybe it was. I don't know. Or
why would it
maybe
be?
maybe it wasn't, but maybe it was the most hospital place to live. So it's the most comfortable place to live because they wanted to mine on Mars. This is why I wonder, like, why Elon wants to go back to Mars. Like, if they already were there and they already had the Ajiji mining in Mars, which are considered demons now, which plays into the whole role of Doom. If you play through the Doom and you see the storyline, it actually kind of closely resembles the story talking about the Ajiji in Mars, mining in Mars for gold. And then this was just like a
What if our
home
core is
base.
liquid gold, and that's why the pyramids are built
I
because they're trying to like suck up the gold from.
I don't know. I would say it's more of
They're
like a
like gold
sun
oil
inside.
rigs.
I would say it's more of a
You
sun. Like they say it's liquid magma, but I think the fact is it's just a bunch of
know,
dirt on top of a sun. It's trying to
it's
get rid
liquid
of all the
gold.
dirt.
Yeah, but the sun has to be made of something anyway.
Well, the sun's made of whatever the sun's made out of. Maybe the sun is made out of gold. Maybe the sun. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's true. I don't know. I don't know what suns are made out of. I don't know if anybody truly knows what a sun's made out of because you got to stick a probe into the liquid magma of the sun and have it survive.
Well, remember Russia did that a
And
bunch of years ago and it got super hot. They couldn't even keep drilling because it got so hot.
yeah, we can't even drill past how many miles into the earth?
It's not even that far. It's like where they were drilling it like matches basically the Marianas Trench anyway.
Oh,
It's
that
like you need
was the tunnel to hell because they can hear the sounds of what sounds like hell inside, right? I think
well
that's what that
no,
was.
it was just like a little hole.
Well, they do have that tunnel to hell, which
They
they
had another big one
say,
that was pretty cool. But there's just they just drilled like a smaller hole that just went like straight, you know what I mean? Like a constant drill smaller that
hmm,
was just able to sense pro and eventually it started just getting like 12,000 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that or Celsius. I
that's what I'm
don't
saying.
remember.
We're sitting on top of rock that's on top of a sun.
Well, you just have
I
to
think
get
the
you have to get
sun
like
got hit with
iron deposits and stuff like that, like
yeah.
that
I think
begin to barricade over top that won't melt out.
well the thing is trying to get rid of it, so it tries to evaporate, it heats it up and all that, and it turns into evaporation, and eventually forms into solid rock and then pulls back down to it. So no matter what, it can't ever get rid of it. It's just retransmuting whatever that is into some other element, and then it's turned into gas, and then it re-solidifies and comes back down, and then does it all over again. It can't. I think this world was hit with probably some gigantic ice ball, maybe some other giant iron
That's what I said. I came up with the idea
material,
that maybe this planet was
and
originally like a methane planet,
maybe
and we got hit with some kind of
because when another planet or
opposite
another thing blows
opposite.
up,
That's why we have
it
such
shatters, it
that's why we have
shoots,
such salty
it
oceans
it shoots its materials through space, and then
and we
something
have
gets
so
hit
many
with
and
it.
we have so many weird minerals and stuff like that because there was such complex,
Yeah,
and that I don't know. I mean, you could say, well, where does that show in? geology. I don't know. I'm not a geologist.
Well, the thing is, they say you need iron in your blood in order for it to work right, right? So if we didn't have the right kind of minerals, it'd be hard for
Well, did
us
we talk
to
about this in the show last time? Because I
with
thought this is
with
so
the
cool what you were saying last
with
time.
with the metals, the purity of the metals,
Yeah.
having silver and gold, and that's what they did long ago. They had monatomic gold,
Yeah, I
monatomic
mean,
silver,
I'm
and they
100% in
would.
agreement with you that it's the idea. Why do you think that people wore earrings? Because the idea of putting these precious metals next to your ears would help you hear better. Why do you think they wore the crowns so you could think better? Why
Yeah,
and it's not just that, but we were saying like imagine having micro dust gold and you sprinkle it into your soil and
they would
your plants
have.
would eat
And
that
you know what? I always
and
found it.
you'd eat that
I found it
and you're
weird
getting
that my grandpa would tell me when he would have schnapps. I'm sure you know what schnapps is, right? It's a alcoholic drink with gold flakes in it. He told me
like Goldschlager.
Goldschlager, yeah, or maybe I'm saying I probably said it wrong,
Yeah.
but Goldschlager is what he had, and he loved that
Yeah, Goldschlager's the best one.
drink. But he would say that if you had it without the gold flakes, it was poisonous. It's not poisonous. It's just alcohol. The gold flakes, and this is what it was part of monatomic gold. It was gold flakes and small enough particles of gold that it was almost like liquid material. It was like a 0.01% of monatomic gold that was put into there. That moving through your bloodstream would be better for that to connect with the instead of iron connecting with your blood, it connect gold and silver connect with your blood. It helps your blood flow more efficiently. It helps your brain process things more efficiently. What if, because of what they had long ago, that they were giants, and because they're giants now, we're standing on top of other giants and body parts of giants because they drank gold, but in huge quantities because they were huge. They were titans, they were giants. They could think very effectively. Maybe because they were giants, they could create the pyramids, and it was just like making a sandcastle. But nowadays, we look at the things, we're like, how could we do that? They were huge. They could just go, I'm going to put this into a mold, dip it in some lava, create a stone, put it on the ground, put the cast back in the lava, pull it up, put it on the ground, and make it perfectly fit, cut it with a gigantic sword that would be like, 3 stories high.
They've all been destroyed, these gigantic swords. Do you see these?
These giants that lived long ago, they died. They talk about giants and all that. What if because
Where are
of
the swords?
what if because of what they drank and what they ate with the extra gold and minerals and purities of things, they were huge. They were smarter, they were bigger, they were stronger. What if they lived during the dinosaur age? The Bible talks about giants all the time. And you know what the Catholic Church will do? They'll deny it. The Catholic Church will deny that giants existed. Can you believe that? I was a part of the Catholic Church for a long time, and they deny the very thing in the very Bible that they actually talk about. It's like, you can't be serious. Just because there were people of renown doesn't mean that they weren't giants. And they talk about people that were like the size of trees, in the Bible that they had to fight. The Jews had to go through all this terrain, kill off certain people. Some people were of giant renown. They were huge giants. Native Americans talk about
Maybe
giants.
that's why people
It's like, what if way back then, because of what they ate, the gold, the silver, the purities of that in their system, it made them grow bigger, stronger, smarter? Could I be wrong? I mean, what if that was the case? It was just because of the atmosphere, the minerals, because they do say you are what you eat. And if that's true, and we're eating pure things that are really, really good for us, can't we grow? But you look at people now.
maybe those avocados were for us.
Maybe so. Maybe we were big enough that we could swallow the seed whole, and we're like, whatever. It's like what we do with bubblegum now. We're just like, it'll come out.
But it's like you just no, but it's more like along the ideas that you just rip it and you just eat the whole thing and spit the seed out. The
Mm.
idea, like
Kind of like a
you get it
cherry
you get it like
seed,
started.
you know, something like that. Cherry seed,
Yeah.
because you don't want to. I mean, you could eat the seed, but then you got to crunch it and it doesn't feel good. So you're just like, yeah, you know. But what
Yeah.
if that's the case? I mean, I just thought about that too. Like because that's the truth of the matter. You kind of grow stronger when you eat more. Well, okay. So you eat more protein, right? And you get more fat off that. And if you exercise, you get bigger. Look at The Rock back when he wanted to be called a rock because he was kissing a rock versus how he looks now. He's huge. He eats more material, good material, and lifts weights and works out and becomes a bigger person.
Who?
The Rock, Dwayne
Dwayne Johnson.
Johnson. I could say The Rock, but I don't think that's his middle name. Uh, Unless it is his middle name. Was that his middle name? I think that'd be a little
Did he
weird if
legally
it
get
was.
that changed? Did he
I
legally
think he
get that changed?
maybe he did. I'm
Oh, I
just
guess he
saying,
did.
look at how he transformed himself within so many years. He just became massively huge. Not everybody becomes this massively huge.
Yeah, but he was always pretty big, even when he was like a kid.
Not as big as he is now. You can see the difference of pictures there. Everybody that became a mass bodybuilder.
I mean, I'm not saying, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'm not trying to narc on his work and all that. He's definitely puts a lot of work into his
Mm-hmm.
out.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be something. It could have been the fact that our planets
You're
must
saying
have.
you're saying he should start. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Maybe our
and who know?
planets were closer to another orbit and it created some kind of gravitational field that we could grow bigger because it would stretch us out and then we became giants. Some people have suggested this in some way. Like we were too close to Jupiter and Saturn was an actual sun at the time and we just grew bigger. And because we're bigger, we can make. So the pyramids were like a little sandcastle to us at the time.
Yeah,
And
maybe
now
maybe it got like harder on us as
we
like the
shrunk.
years yeah, I guess kept doing that as the years we keep getting closer and closer. You just keep shrinking, but that would be so long ago. I
What if the
mean,
giants were
right?
so big that they could put their mouth to the hole of the pyramid and blow on it like a fucking whistle? And it was like a earth whistle of sorts. They could just make sounds off of it, and it was like a toy.
You're
I don't
right though.
know. Dude,
I
I'm
think
just
it's less of a chance because of the way that we have our asteroid belt and all that set up. Less of a chance of like a meteor to hit into our planet, and more of a chance of like our planet to like realize it's going to position line with Mars or something and smash into it in like 5 years. Like it's inevitable. Like we realize now that Mars
history.
Align's
Interesting.
going, and we've watched it, and it's gonna smash. Or maybe they can even be like in 30 years, or
Hulk
like
smash?
like
Oh
like
no.
we're getting closer and closer, and their trajectory points are there. Like if we don't, they'll basically say if we don't hit them, we'll be within close enough range that it's going to create a gravitational disturbance, which we can't predict what would happen. And who knows? Maybe it could like hit the moon right in front of us, like Mars smashes into the moon, and we're like, basically now drifting closer and closer to Mars and stuff. Like you can now feel it like a lot of
You know
people are
what?
feeling motion sickness.
You know what I want to talk about that could reside with what's going on here today, and a lot of Catholics will believe this, even though it's not a Catholic thing at all.
That would be such a
Is
harbinger. Like
is the 3 days of darkness, and there's people that are posting videos about this that are like really into aliens and believing that aliens are helping us out from other places and all that, like Sirius and other places. I don't know all of them really. but they're talking about the 3 days of darkness like it's an alien thing now. Like it's actually supposed to help our planet transcend to the next place. And the fact is, if we see some vortex portals, it's good to go through them because we're moving into the next 4D, 5D thing. And we're going to be able to, want to eat more plant material. That'll actually refresh us more than anything else that we eat. And it'll, kind of cultivate us. And what do you think about that? I mean, I've heard this from, and this is, I
Put a
think
stick
this is a
through and pull the stick back
Protestant.
out. And if the stick's still there, I would
What?
then probably take my pinky and put my pinky in and put my pinky back out. And my pinky's still there. I'd probably put my hand in and hand back out.
Yeah, what I would
And
what I would
then
probably
after
do is
that, I'd probably
what
put my head like that in.
what I would probably do is do like the Indiana Jones thing, and I think that might come down to that. He's like, what was the thing where he's about to step onto that platform that doesn't even appear? It's just invisible. You know, remember that part?
I haven't
And
really watched too much Indiana Jones actually.
well, he had to go through all these tests to at the very end to find the Holy Grail. Holy Grail. If you find the right Holy Grail, you can put it in a cup of water, and you can give it to somebody. It gives them the breath of life, right, or immortality, because the guy
Holy Grail
guard.
is basically the same story as the Ponce de Leon, the Fountain of Youth. I think it's all that was connected in a sense. It's weird to think about it, but I
Yeah,
think that the
yeah.
Fountain of Youth was just where the Holy Grail was, and he had found it, and he's probably thinking like, I found it,
A
you
lot of the
know.
time now, people will like if you look into this really deep. The Holy Grail is essentially an idea for the bloodlines that were followed by the Knights Templar that connect Jesus to Mary Magdalene to find out the son of Jesus. And the son of Jesus or the daughter of Jesus, whoever is supposed to have like all the powers of Jesus, right? But that none of that. The reason that like I don't know if this is just like sort of a psyop, like the flat Earth was. You know how so many years ago they did the flat Earth thing, and it was really just a military psyop. Actually, what I think it was, not just a psyop, I think it was a military joke because in the military you make these ridiculous jokes that you'll tell to other people and try to fool them over that, and they're just way out there, and you typically get some people with it. I was in the military, I know. We like to kind of mind fuck people sometimes, and it seems like maybe that was kind of the case because the fact is like this whole flat earth thing, which they said in the Bible, is really just an idea of an area, whether Eden, I don't think ever truly existed on this planet. If it was aliens and Eden existed like in Trigun, where there were seeds, they were in a spaceship pod. And they could go to an area that had like an Eden
If
area, and
everybody's reality exists
you know,
within themselves and it's actually
or
factual.
or it's a spiritual
What if
place
you don't
that's
even
not
what if you
that's
don't
not
even
real. But
hear? What
but
if you
the
don't even what if we're actually interacting with other people, but we're not even hearing exactly what they're actually saying? Or our minds are just interpreting it to best understand what we would understand to, what I mean? Like it's none of it's really real. Like if somebody's world is 2 + 2 = 3, or something like that, they'll still hear four. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like
I guess it depends if
programs
people
it
are
programs it
connected
to
to
be
you in
equal.
some sense or
Everybody just
not.
sees everybody just sees what they want to see. Somebody even might actually visually see another one there, and their reality is real that they think I got three, like I thought I was supposed to, and you
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like it's like it's all perception, like it's deep down perception. If the Earth is flat for somebody,
But the thing
because
is, the
in
thing
their
is,
world it is actually flat, and it's
what they say, I think is a bit true is that everything has to converge at some point. And I think as you and I and other people like that,
but why does it have to converge? Why does everybody's individual thoughts actually converge
because everything
to
is
make a
either circular
one
or
type
straight
reality?
path, but it's going to turn into a capillary at some point, and it's going to come back to becoming an
But
artery.
you don't physically see through someone else's eyes or hear through their ears.
No,
What
but
I'm
the way
what
the
I'm
way the human body is designed, and the way that we're thought of to be, as the human body is designed, is the perfect machine, right? So the way the
How do
blood
we
flow,
know how the human body is designed? I
well,
mean, like,
we're in image and likeness of God. And
okay,
if
but
and if
doesn't that mean that we create our own realities then?
that means we can, but it means that right now this image is in the image and likeness of God, of the Creator. So the
But
way that
what does that exactly mean? That's what I'm trying to say.
that means
You can
that
say that
that
he,
means that the functionality and the way it looks, the way that it's designed, the way a car is designed, and the way that it functions, how it's supposed to function. That's essentially
right,
what it means.
but
It could be
but
more than that, but
think
that's
about
all
it.
we really kind of can
But a
kind of
person who
tell.
doesn't know how a car works but knows how to drive it, it still functions.
Yeah, but they don't know what's
So
inside. They don't know how the pistons work. They don't know where the axle is. They don't even know what it is. They don't know how to change it. They don't know how to do this. They don't do that. Most cars don't fix themselves. Most people don't
un
fix themselves.
understood. I'm just
But
trying to say in the reality of it, that's, but you know what I mean? You understand what I'm just trying to say that maybe the convergence is so it's our brains are actually smarter than we think. The
yes,
convergence is that
yes.
we can just understand what other people are other people are trying to say, but your language in actuality might be like blah 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 blah, blah. But I'm translating it in my own, just my brain hears what it needs to hear and it translates it for me.
Are you saying we are in a Peanuts cartoon?
I'm saying I'm
Oh, they
saying
were
that
saying this.
even in the reality, but we're completely unaware of it. That if in your world, um, every time somebody sees you, they give you something, and it's always this way that they always do, and you have it, you physically have it, but in other people's world, they really don't notice that you have it. It's not even they never gave you anything, and it it's not even in their memories. It didn't happen, and you can't converge it because your brains wouldn't function correctly. It almost like an error for a computer. It's just an error. So the brain's just error that doesn't compute. Okay, we'll retranslate.
Okay, well
Just
then
don't talk
then
about it.
who in your world is within your world as well as they understand you're in their world? And I'm not talking about some kind of
You
like
know, but
romantic
you get
thing
what I'm
like,
saying.
"Oh baby, you're
We
part of my world," or
we're
I
real,
I'm
but who's
like,
to say? Who's to say that we're even anywhat thinking the same thing? That your blue is green and all that, and it's just it's completely different. But we just our
"Oh, I
brains.
say like my vision of reality is playing out the way I see it, and yours is playing out the way you see it." So then that would mean that my version of this reality, you would be the extra, like how Mario had Luigi. Luigi's the original title for Luigi is just extra. It's not doesn't mean much else or other. So Luigi was just like a clone, not necessarily even a brother. He was just an extra fill-in, for it. So that would mean something like that. But then again,
and
who's the one leading
what
the
I'm saying,
idea of the thing?
but you understand what I'm trying to say. Think of us more like real computers. That let's say that the computers are faster than the speed of light, our own brains. That
But
we
wouldn't the
process
computers
the
try to work with
information.
each other and share information so that they could
Right.
be on the
So that's what I'm
same
saying.
level?
That's what I'm, but that's what I'm trying to say. If you're your own separate computer entity, right, and something doesn't compute when you converge with another one, it'll just try to rectify the problem. It won't like, oh, let me add more code to you. It'll just kind of, that was an error. So like, let's fix it. Well, you think this is too is this, all right, we got it. So it's fine. And it's weird because it's so complicated to think about, but you could a
Hmm.
homeless person who we see as a homeless person might actually see themselves as like a millionaire living in a mansion and all that. We don't see it that they see it, and that's weird.
Hmm.
That's like an
So
extremity.
what you're trying to say is, from our experience, well, then that would actually that could possibly coincide to the idea of reincarnation because then our past experiences would let us see the other people around us in a certain light based upon how we've experienced the past. But if we didn't have a past, why would we care to see things from the perspectives that we have? Just agree to play that part? Or, it's just, oh, sorry, you pulled the wrong straw. You're
Well,
gonna
maybe that's
be.
maybe that's why this is getting so extreme. Because for in order for realities to continually function, some people's realities, they think that there's tons of trees left in the world. Other people's realities, they think there's no trees left in the world. And they have to get divided. And it's easier when things don't commute and people don't program well, the computer will kind of be like, not a match, like just we're gonna stay away. It might even create a conflict of emotion of like, I don't like this person.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna stay away from him. And it's because there's too many underlying differences that you won't really be able to have any kind of conversation. It won't ever. It'll just every time will be like an error, and we'll rewrite it your mind, and that you had this, and we can only do so much of rewrite what you think that person thinks about you, and that person like it's all a lie in a
Hmm.
sense. You really don't know the other person at all, and they don't really know you at all. But you've converged what you think of that person based on just random interaction, and that person does the same thing with you, random interaction, and they paint this picture of you and you
That's
with
really
them, and it's
complicated stuff, man.
kind of an amazing thing that this happens. But in actuality, our senses, none of it's really real. Like your everything is. The reason we can keep talking at some point is because we create the same closer and closer reality. And
So that's the you're saying that that's the convergence, is that we start all agreeing upon the same thing because we've come to the same conclusion.
right, it starts to become like that. Or
But
at
that's
least
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
it gets super segregated.
This
But
is
when
what
you
I'm
start to
saying.
come to
Like you see the veins here, the blue and the red and all that.
right,
When
right,
they come to a certain point, they spread out, and it becomes a big different web of capillaries that go this way, that way, this way, that way. But they're all connected, but they're going in multiple different paths, and they eventually come back together and they form the same vein going forward because they have to spread out so it can send the blood to the other organs, the skin and muscles and all that. But they initially spread out so they can get everywhere, and then they come back into the same stream. It's almost like that with life too. We come from one point, we might change paths, but we seem to come back together in the end. But that's what I'm saying. The human
yeah. Well,
body
that's the match. The human body shows a
replicates
lot of right.
replicates God. A lot of
Yeah,
people
it
wonder, like,
does.
what
I
is the
mean, you
number
see that
what is the
pineal
number of
gland,
God? And it makes sense. With some people are like, well, it's the number of man, but man isn't the number of six; it's five. One, two, three, four, five. We have five limbs, five fingers, five toes. It's that's just the way it is. But we're created in the image and likeness of God. We are the sons and daughters of the Creator, if we so choose to be. We could be servants and all that. Jesus says this. He says this. If he didn't say this, I wouldn't say this. If I didn't know Jesus, I don't know what I would be, honestly. But I've been following a lot of his stuff because it makes sense. A lot of things make sense. One of the first things he said was, he was telling the Samaritan woman, he's like, "What is the spirit?" It's like a wind. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but you can feel it. It's something more than what it is physical, and that's what he was trying to describe right off the bat. And people, they wouldn't believe it unless they had a miracle, unless they had something they could see, touch, be excited about. Hey, come back! He's gonna do a trick again. He's gonna make some food. It's like, what is the purpose of the reality? Is the purpose of the reality to have a carnival act? Apparently, according to what Jesus had to say in John, it was not. But the only extra way he could get the extra followers to follow him is by playing a party trick. He had to do a magician stuff, magician act. Was that the right way to do it? It worked. I would say nowadays it's not, but back then it was the only seemed to be way to do it, because he'd be like, try to think about this way, and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I got to get my food and go home. That's how people would have probably treated him, because if they didn't get their day's work done, they weren't gonna eat. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
just, it's just embarrassing seeing all these buildings in the world that are just like destroyed and rotted.
What? You zoned out. We have technical difficulties, everybody. We'll wait for Brad to get back in here. Let me get my headset's probably
Some
gonna.
things are like not.
Brad is the host. How'd you become the host? I was the host when you were gone. So. Yeah, I don't know what you said. You zoned out for like a good half minute.
I don't know. I'm getting pretty tired.
Hmm. All right. Maybe we should call it here. Yeah, it's a good time. Probably call it here. So, what do you think we should close with here? What's a
In the end, I told my daughter, you're entitled to your opinion and what you want to believe. I was like, I might not agree with you in the long run if you choose to change your mind on it. You might hear a lot of other people's opinions, and I want you to know you're always entitled to yours. You don't be swayed to be forced to change your opinion because people say it's the right thing to do or whatnot. That's not, you pray to God and you trust in your heart what you think is the right thing to do. And oftentimes I always just get the same answer of just don't judge people. It's not really your responsibility. You be kind to people. And truthfully, and this is the thing, Ben Shapiro can always be like, no, you shouldn't play into people's fantasies. But if a person is really unstable and really depressed and you think it can help them, I mean, you can argue that, oh, well, how is it helping them playing in their delusional world and whatnot? And it's like, because torturing them is never the right answer. I mean, in a sense, like, who are you to judge? You know what I mean? Like, you can't say I'm closer to God and Jesus, and that's why I can tell you what you're doing wrong. You cannot say it like that. It's not. The only way you can be like, I'm closer to God and Jesus, and that's why I'm here to help you. How can I help? And if your idea of helping people is basically like, driving an idea or your opinion into their heads because you think it's right, again.
Yeah, but then there's the other side too, where people try to come at you with all these confusing ideas of something, and it's like, no, maybe you believe that, but that doesn't mean everybody else believes it. It doesn't mean I have to go around purporting it as well, because it just, because some people have personal experiences with some things. Some people have seen some things or had this experience, but that doesn't mean everybody else has. And because everybody else hasn't, you trying to force them to believe it is the same thing as forcing a belief on somebody.
But the argument comes down as a two-way street, though. You can't be like, I'm not, I'm not going to play your game, but you need to play mine.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's the argument to it.
That's true. But it's, a pendulum swings both ways.
We should not be aborting babies, especially even after they've already been born. But
I know, and that's a
I
big
mean
thing too.
that's a whole
That
different ballpark to me.
I think is really wrong, and to put it into the books to make it very like, well, I'm hands off, whatever. That is just that is just giving evil people a waiver to
Yeah.
do evil things. And there's plenty of evil people out there
I
that
mean, I can't
want to do evil
any
things.
person who's involved in that,
And so the evil people
like,
that want to do evil things, guess what? They'll move to that state that put that law in, and they'll do that evil thing because, haha, I can get away with it. And here's the loophole. Everybody's looking for some kind of loophole sometimes, and bad people will find it and take advantage of that. And then they'll look at you like, you gave me the opportunity. It's your fault. You
well,
see?
heaven forbid, because I'm not intending to be the judgmental one, but what if that's the case? After like 10 years, you finally got to like all people have now left California that is, of good soul. Only the evil remain. You know?
Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that's the thing. Like we even see it with it could be God influencing us with some things like with movies. Watch Escape from L.A. and see how the past predicted the future, and how that very well could get cut off and turned into a prison island because it's just full of craziness. They're the only place with the poop patrol. I mean, does your state have people crapping in the streets just
I know
because?
I'm random and I'm
No.
grateful that I live, in Pennsylvania, but I'd be so upset if I was like a person who lived out in California growing up. I'm like, dang it. I mean, thank you for life, but dang it. I
Yeah.
really missed the lottery being in Los Angeles, having to grow up in Los Angeles.
Honestly, I know some people that are in California and all that. Not like super personally or anything like that, but if if I lived in California and I had a whole bunch of family there, the same as I have here, I'd move. I'm not saying I'd move to Wisconsin. I mean, you know, I'd have to look at it because it is
I
kind
know
of cold here.
California.
But I would move to
California
maybe
is a pretty state, but the
uh,
people and the way that it's become that you're so dependent off the city and
yeah.
nothing's like natural anymore. It's I don't
No, I'm
know.
not. I'm not saying that you have to move if you live there, but I'm just saying what I would do. I would not accept pure crazy people being around me spouting nonsense and acting like a complete fool. Even if my family grew up like that, my standards are not to be around that absolute craziness. I've already experienced that with other people in my life. A lot of crazy different people that tried to be involved in my life in different situations, and it's just like, this is kind of fucked up. Like, I need to get out of here. I need to go somewhere where there's more rational people. And I did it. I got away from the crazies when there were certain things that happened. Um, you know, some relationships, some just situations with school or whatever. But I'm not going to put myself in that. That's the other thing that we have to realize now as Aquarians is that all the stuff that we're living right now, if you keep putting up with the BS of the craziness around you, you are accepting that. Unless you can help change it, that's what Jesus had to say. If they don't take your message, shake the sand off your sandals and go to someplace new. Don't stay there forever because it's not just you're trying to influence them, they're trying to influence you. And if they make you just as crazy as them, they're happy, right? They're happy that way because then you can be a part of their crazy system. It's just like you gotta
One of us, one of us,
one of us.
one of us.
One of us. Exactly. That's perfect. So, all right. I think we'll close it out here. Thanks everybody for coming by and tune in for the next episode here. I'm sure we'll have some segment that we'll cut and turn into a smaller video for YouTube. And so if you're watching that, thanks. But we'll see you next week or, whenever. And yeah, I'll just say cheers and good night.